Eagle 95.1, WUPN, Paradise, Sault Ste. Marie.
It's time for The Game. Eagle 95.1 proudly brings you The Game, the Twin Sault's only regional and national sports show. For the next hour, we'll get an in-depth look at sports in the Eastern Upper Peninsula and Algoma region and hear from coaches and players involved in The Game. Now, let's join Scott Nason at the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street in downtown Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, for tonight's broadcast of The Game on Eagle 95.1.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game.
Glorious. No, I won't give in till I'm victorious. And I will defend. Glorious. No, I won't give in till I'm victorious. And I will defend, and I'll do what I must. No, I won't give in, oh so glorious. Until the end,
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to The Game on Eagle 95.1 and online. Podcast at thegamesportshow.podbean.com and on thegamesportshow.com. As the man said, my name is Scott Nason, broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street on this first day of October. Monday, October 1st, 2018. Our broadcast engineers today, Katie Wolin, Trent Raymond, and Dallas Miller. Katie doing some training in the studios on Ashman Street. Thank you for joining us on The Game. Come on down to the Wicked Sister and join us for the live broadcast. And coming up next Monday, very excited for this event. We'll be here for this broadcasting The Game next Monday. It is Battle of the Breweries here at the Wicked Sister as Shorts Brewery will go up against Ordock. And all will be benefiting hospice and their Dancing with the Stars fundraiser coming up later on this year. So come on down to the Wicked Sister tonight and next Monday, or just come down every night. Always a good place to go. We'll be joined later on by Dave McCaig from Sioux, Ontario, who will get us up to date on what's going on in the area hockey scene and along other lines of sports. We'll also be joined around 6:30 by Brandon Lokken, the Lake Superior State University women's head basketball coach, as the Lakers will start their season later on this month. And around 6:45, we'll be joined by Butch Davis from Butch On Sports, who will get us up to date on what's going on in the Metro Detroit sports world. And then at 7 o'clock, online only for the full hour, will be the 2-hour podcast. We do the first hour on the radio, and then the second hour we podcast online. Myself, Dave McCaig, Butch Davis, and E.J. Russell will be joining us here on the broadcast. But let's get right to the local sports action. We'll start with high school football from this past weekend in a game you heard on Eagle 95.1 Friday night with Todd Olmsted. Well, it was all Cedarville as they led that game 66-6 over Brimley at half, and would cruise to a 72-6 win over the Brimley Bays. In Great Lakes Conference East 8-player football action, the Trojans improved to 4-2 on the season. Will host Rapid River on Friday night, while the Bays, now 1-5, look to get back on track at home when they host Engadine in the Weather Bowl at the Dick Amble Field in Brimley. Todd Olmsted will have the call of that game on Eagle 95.1 on Friday, starting with the pregame show at 6:45. Well, the Rudyard Bulldogs started the season 2-0, but they haven't had much luck since then, as they dropped their third straight game on Friday night at home to Rapid River by the score of 40-22. Now the Bulldogs still have playoff hopes. However, they're almost going to have to win out, or at least win the majority of their games remaining, and they should have a pretty good victory, or I should say, I should no offense to Kearney to do, but a winless team. I like Rudyard in that one, and they'll be at Kearney on Friday. The Pickford Panthers, the number one team in all the state of Michigan in 8-player football, well, they are the first team in the Eastern Upper Peninsula to officially punch their ticket to the postseason as they rolled to another big win in Great Lakes Conference play, routing the Stevenson Eagles by the score of 59-8 at the Purple Palace in Pickford. This is a ranked Stevenson team, and this Pickford team is scary good. And we've talked about it a lot on this show. We interviewed Matt Johnson, assistant coach for the Soo Blue Devil football team earlier this year. He said nobody was going to beat him. I think he might have even said no one's going to get within a couple touchdowns of him. Well, he's a very smart man right now. Well, in general, but right now in this case, as Pickford now 6-0, and they will take on Eben Junction on Friday night, taking on the Superior Central Cougars. Homecoming at Sioux High on Friday night, a very emotional night at Van Sitters Field, as senior Tate Kay scored the go-ahead touchdown on a 3-yard run with 44 seconds remaining in the Soo Blue Devils' 14-7 non-conference football win over Gladstone. Chris Pierce also had a 7-yard run in the first quarter on homecoming, and Soo will travel to Rogers City on Friday. We'll be talking to their head coach, Scott Menard, will be joining us here in a little bit at the Wicked Sister, and what has been a very emotional week for the Soo Blue Devil football team and, well, the community at whole. And a big win for the Blue Devils on Friday night as they improve to 4-2 on the season, and they'll be traveling to Rogers City on Friday. Other games in high school football: St. Ignace over East Jordan 54-8. Indian River Inland Lakes at Newberry. Newberry wins by the score of 42-35. We are joined right now by co-host of the game here from the Wicked Sister and host from the game over in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. A couple different locations. His name is Dave McCaig, joining us at the Wicked Sister. Kegger, thanks for joining us on this Monday night.
Of course, Scotty. Wouldn't miss it for the world. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful. We're going to be getting you on a little early as our guest has just arrived. We'll get Scott Menard in on the next segment, Dave. But talking about Canadian high school football, we talked a little bit about on the U.S. side. St. Mary's and Cora, they picked up Thursday night victories last week. It was Nick Pagnotta lifting the Knights to a 17-3 victory over Superior Heights as he ran for a 54-yard touchdown run along with a 4-yard scamper. So St. Mary's now 3-1 on the season. Superior Heights, they fall to 1-3. And the Cora Colts are 4-0 in senior high school football action as they picked up a forfeit win over the White Pines Wolverines in senior football. The Wolverines not having enough players eligible to play. So what's your thoughts on the Canadian Sioux as far as high school football, Mr. McCaig?
Well, I can't take the full credit for the full analysis of it. I do trust my panel over in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario pretty heavily with this, especially with the In the Pocket segment that we have on Wednesdays there. Coach Jamie Antonello was pretty fantastic, sending about a 4-paragraph text message. So I know we have limited time, so I'm not going to fully read through that, but just going through it. You mentioned White Pines with their the senior forfeiting their game. You know, White Pines had a lot of difficulty this year in both the junior and senior ranks with the forfeiting going on, and hopefully they can kind of steer the ship right in that direction. But you mentioned Nick Pagnotta. Jamie Antonello has pointed him out that he is a stud.
Yeah,
you know, this kid is a really big star going out in the senior ranks right now. And the junior Superior Heights Junior defeated St. Mary's, the junior team 8-1. It was a tight defensive game, he said. It was tight, 1-1 going into the fourth quarter, and then Superior Heights had a long run and later scored. Cora and Junior and the White Pines Junior had a scrimmage. Was just kind of a scrimmage as it didn't have enough players safely to play as well in that. So, you know, at least they got the game in to really use the field and utilize some skills and development there. You know, the upcoming week looks pretty good with the high school football. They have the seniors play. Cora will play St. Mary's in the first in the round 2 matchup, and the first place on the line if Mary's can defeat Cora by 8 points or more. Superior Heights will play White Pines if they can field a team, that is, however.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're able to do so. I know they're really trying to get that program going there for next week. The junior this week has the same matchups as that. So Superior Heights and White Pines are this Thursday, the junior game at 4:45, and the senior game will be at 7, the same time as Friday for Cora and Mary's. Now, you know, the favorites over there, you got Cora has been a great program the last couple of years, headed by by Jamie Antonello. Coach Matt Primo is also part of our game panel on Wednesdays, and Dustin Grondin, who works with the senior team as well. But give a lot of credit to Will Annett there, or sorry, Tommy Annett. Sorry, not Will Arnett. That's an actor. But Tom Annett doing a great job with that program. St. Mary's and Superior Heights are always an exciting team to watch. I know it's kind of chilly outside, but with the great action going on, they play Thursdays and some Fridays, as I just mentioned. So make sure you get out there and support the football. There's a lot of good talent. There's not just Nick Pagnotta right now that's a standout talent. There's a lot of other kids that Jamie mentioned that could be, worthy of having big spotlight seasons so far and talent on that football field. So definitely great to go watch them.
Dave, let's move on to the world of hockey, talking about the Greyhounds, the Thunderbirds, and the Eagles. Let's start with the Hounds on the road this past weekend, winning at London by the score of 5-3, and then falling to the Sarnia Sting in overtime 2-1. The Hounds 2-1-1 on the season. They're going to be on the road 4-3 this week, starting in Peterborough on Thursday. They'll also travel to Kingston on Friday and Ottawa on Sunday. Some news from today. Mr. Hallowell back from the Toronto Maple Leafs organization with the Soo Greyhounds. Brad Cocciamelio, a contributor on your show, wrote about this in SooToday.com. And we're working to confirm rumors. And again, these are just rumors right now, but the number 5 pick from last year's draft, Barrett Hayton, reportedly is going to be back with the Soo Greyhounds. Now, I did a little research, Dave. The Arizona Coyotes right now are in a little bit of a pickle. Imagine that with that squad, but they have over the limit of 50 players signed, and so they're going to have to lose 2 contracts. Now, if the Coyotes send their first-round picks back to juniors, which would be Hayton and Pierre-Olivier Joseph to the Quebec League, those contracts won't count, so that'll get them under the 50 or right at the 50. So are we going to see Barrett Hayton back for the Soo Greyhounds this year?
You know what? It looks good that way. And Brad Cocciamello talking to him today, he's definitely a strict professional, as we all are here on the game, and it's just a media.
Yeah, these are just rumors right now.
Exactly.
Nothing confirmed.
The quote unquote, until I hear something official, there's not much going on, was his exact words.
Right.
Obviously, Mac Hollowell being the official news that he's already kind of.
That's official.
That's
correct.
official.
Yep.
So they said that was confirmed yesterday with Hollowell, but. They were thinking that this rumor, that he said this rumor, he didn't mention the name, but we think things are going to be surfaced by today, but nothing as of yet. So Brad was pretty optimistic in how it looks, and the way you speak of it, Scott, with the 2 contracts that need to get sent down, that would be a smart move for Arizona to do it this way.
Yeah.
They have a lot of youth in that organization, and to put Barrett and to put Pierre in that situation to play this year would be absolutely unrealistic. I think it would be a disadvantage to their experience and just kind of disadvantage to their growth as players. So if they can have Barrett come back and Pierre go to the Quebec League, that would be strong development for them going forward. Arizona having Barrett in the lineup would be no benefit, or Pierre.
Moving on to the NOJHL, Dave, we got to move through these sports quickly as we have a couple guests coming up. Well, 3 guests to be exact. The Soo Thunderbirds continue to play well. The number 2 team in all of junior hockey in the country of Canada defeated Rayside Balfour in overtime on Friday night at the John Rhodes Community Center 3-2 as Noah Bowman scored the game-winning goal in overtime. And then the border battle, one you could hear on our podcast page, thegamesportshow.podbean.com, between the Soo Eagles and the Soo Thunderbirds, and it was the Thunderbirds skating away with a 2-1 win over the Soo Eagles at Puller Stadium in front of just about 750 fans, as it was Lucas Terrio who ended up getting one of the players of the week in the NLJHL, scored his 6th goal of the season, which ended up being the game winner. So the Thunderbirds 7-0-0. They'll be hosting Espanola on Friday and at Elliott Lake, on Sunday. And the Eagles will be in action Friday night in Espanola before returning home to take on the Blind River Beavers Saturday night at the Puller Stadium. Thunderbirds right now, Dave, very impressed by that team. Goaltending, defense, forwards. Eagles were right there, but boy, Thunderbirds look good out the gate, 7-0.
Oh, they look absolutely amazing. I know Trevor Zachary somewhere listening right now that's saying they're smiling. That's the Thunderbirds organization has always been known for its power, offensively, defensively, goaltending, anything as an organization, and that's true. They've been living up to its name continuously, and being second ranked in Canada, that's fantastic for them, but their goal is to take it week by week. And as Trevor said, it's awesome to have those accolades and think of that and, all the good success that they've had and enjoy it, but it's still early in the season, right? And the Thunderbirds are in a position where, they can continue. They're playing well. And shout out to Lucas Terrio. The guy is absolutely fire right now.
He improved?
Right.
I mean, not that he was bad last year, but
no.
we commented on the broadcast. He looks
Oh, different.
Really, really different, I think is a good way to put it.
It's almost night and day. His talent, like you just said, was always there.
Yeah.
There was no questioning that. But you know what? His maturity and just that 1 year experience and that off-season of training, look how much development it does for a player. And the guys like Tyler Malpass looking absolutely fantastic as well. So there's a lot of players out there that are doing great. And the Thunderbirds right now, us here with the game, are going to be covering Thunderbird games live on location, pre and post game.
Right.
We're going to be starting doing it after Thanksgiving weekends, going into the next weekend, October. And then they do have a new restaurant opening at the John Rhodes.
Oh, they do. We were just talking about that up here.
Yeah, Icebreakers. Good buddy of mine, Jody Wilson, will be opening that up. He'll also be carrying a little line of our product from those spirits. So that's great. But we'll be covering the game from there for pre and post game with the Thunderbirds, and obviously we're doing the Greyhound work. But the Thunderbirds and the game working closely together, and very proud to be part of this team right now. That's 7-0, second best in Canada.
Again, you can find those broadcasts at thegamesportshow.podbean.com or thegamesportshow.com. A couple other scores to cover before we go to break. The Sioux Indians were at Thunder Bay over the weekend. They dropped the Saturday game 3-1. They tied on Sunday 4-4. They will travel to Detroit next weekend for the CompuWare Honey Baked Tournament. Laker Athletics will be talking women's basketball at 6:30 with their head coach Brandon Lokken. The volleyball team had a very successful weekend at home, defeating Purdue Northwest by a 3-2 set score on Friday. And then also winning on Saturday as they defeated Wisconsin Parkside also by a 3-2 count. And congratulations to junior Amanda Reed, who was named honorable mention as one of the GLIAC Players of the Week. Laker women's tennis was at Northwood on Saturday. They fell 7-0. They had a closer matchup on Sunday, losing 4-3 to Saginaw Valley State. Dave, we'll let you enjoy some of your appetizers here. What are you eating there right now?
I got the Tots here from the Wicked Sister, and this beverage that Scotty brought over. I'm not too sure what it is, but it definitely tastes good.
I think it's like the transmission or something. You have to ask him there.
And funny question for you. The basketball coach that we had on is Katie's friend, the male who used to work at the Eagle, or I believe or still does. Didn't we have a challenge, him and I, for one-on-one in basketball?
No, I think you're thinking of someone else.
I think so. We'll talk
about that later on. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk Soo High football with their head coach, Scott Menard, talking about a very emotional week at Soo High and a big win on Friday night for homecoming. That's coming up next on The Game here on Eagle 95.1.
Get Wicked Catering from the crew at the Wicked Sister.
We like to think of ourselves as foodies. While our favorite foods are paired with a beer tasting at the Wicked Sister, you can now have the same creative menu for your next catered business luncheon, family get-together, wedding, or holiday party. Our white truffle risotto appeals to your gluten-free and vegetarian guests. Add sautéed shrimp or freshly grilled chicken for a pop of protein. Or let us build you a custom menu to suit your needs. From plated events of 15 to buffets for 200, the Wicked Sister will cater your event with tapas, snacks, cravables, or a full sit-down dinner.
The Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and additional home to the Game Sports Show, Sports Center Bar and Grill. Sports Center Bar and Grill, located on 624 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Sports Center rated top sports bar for the second year in a row. At Sports Center, enjoy their famous 75-cent wing night along with delicious Molson products on tap, along with a great atmosphere and other great food options available as well. Sports Center Bar and Grill, the Sioux's best sports bar.
Reach out, touch faith.
Welcome back to The Game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.podbean.com. Scott Nason and Dave McCaig broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street on this Monday night. Coming up here in about 11 or 12 minutes, we'll be talking Laker women's basketball with their head coach Brandon Lokken, and then we'll be talking Detroit sports with Butch Davis from Butch On Sports around 6:45. We are joined right now at the Wicked Sister by Soo High head football coach Scott Menard. Scott, first of all, thanks for coming in to our show tonight.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
Well, Scott, it has been a very emotional week for this community, in particular you with the football team and Soo High, as last week one of the students at Soo High tragically lost his life And he was also a player on your football team, Cole Sinnett, who passed away far too early. And before we get to the game Friday night, Scott, walk me through the week that was after you had to face your students probably first before the team. Nothing can prepare you for this.
No.
How did you just kind of walk us through the week up until the game?
Obviously Tuesday was a very somber day in the school, and it was really tough to keep anything together for anybody. We as teachers in our first hour, a lot of kids had no idea.
Right.
They had no idea what had happened, and so we kind of had a speech that we were asked to read, and knowing Cole and my first hour is all seniors, and so that was his class, and I have 6 football players in that class, so just getting through that hour was difficult, and the rest of the day was almost like a like a bad dream type of thing. And a lot of school functions were canceled, but we were kind of encouraged to keep football practice.
Right.
And one of the things that we had talked about was the fact that for our guys who were very close with Cole, was to try to maintain at least a semblance of routine as much as we could, and that's what we were hoping to do with practice. So we brought him in, and everybody showed up, which to me was amazing in itself, and every kid showed up, and we sat and just talked about it in the garage, which is where we meet and watch film, and we sat down and talked about it for 10 minutes, and we said, listen, either we don't have to play this game, or we can play it. We don't have to practice today, or we can practice today. I said I left it entirely up to them, and just said, as coaches, we would support them no matter what direction they took, and we just waited. We went and sat in the coach's office, and we waited about 5 minutes, and all of a sudden we heard people shuffling in the locker room, and at first somebody said, well, it sounds like they're getting their stuff and leaving, so we're like, oh boy, well, at least we know where we're going here. And then we looked in the locker room, and they were putting their stuff on, and they said, we want to practice. And we went out and had, considering the circumstances, probably the best practice we could have had that day. We practiced for an hour and a half. We actually got some things accomplished. And I just think that, I don't want to say anything made it easier. I think at least for a time, and I've had this talk with a lot of people since then, that they could at least be themselves for at least a little bit of time.
Right.
And the next day was equally as hard, and the next day was equally as hard, and the next day was equally as hard. But getting them into practice, by Thursday, there were some kids that kind of were, I don't want to say they're back to normal because that's not the right thing to say, but they were more comfortable. And, our biggest fear, Scott, was probably not knowing what was going to happen Friday. We thought, well, if it goes south in a hurry, which it very well could have, our biggest concern was how are our kids going to react emotionally. We got to keep them together and try to keep them, on focus, and the idea that, we still have 3 games to play after this. And just the strangest thing happened. We just played ball. We went right down the field and scored probably one of our best drives of the year. I mean, we went right down the field and scored. And us going up 7 might not seem like a lot in a lot of games, but it could have been 100 at that point.
Sure.
Because then everybody just kind of exhaled and played. In the end, having the 7-point lead up until 4 minutes left in the game, when it got a little hairy, but it was enough for us to play. And even at halftime, we thought, oh man, we're gonna have this. We just thought we exerted so much energy in that first half, and then the halftime came, and they were okay, and probably the best halftime we've had all year long. And they came out, and we stopped them on 3 downs, and we got the ball back, and went back and forth, and they scored. But we made a couple of amazing plays, led by a freshman who'd never been in that spot before. And
Jacob Davey.
Yeah, he made, was at a 4th and 7.
4th and 7, yeah.
And he scrambled.
What a play.
Yeah, he scrambled out, and he threw a strike to Chase Hilgendorf, and, then his first run of the year was 2 plays later. He got us to the 2, and we scored on the next play, and yeah, it was just an amazing night.
So after the game, obviously getting the big victory, Scott, you go into the locker room. I mean, is there anything that you need to say, or was there just a lot of tears and probably a lot of shouting and probably a lot of hugging?
It was weird because there wasn't – most of that stuff took place on the field.
Sure.
There were so many people at the fence between, where we get off and go in the locker room. And it was just – that was like it was just chaotic. There were so many people, hugging and crying and shaking hands. And then there was a small memorial for Cole on the field after that. But to be honest with you, we kind of reconvened on the field after we shook hands, but we never had the whole team in the locker room after. So we didn't we didn't really talk about it till today.
Okay.
But I think everybody knew, and felt the same way after the game got over.
And Dave, you've also had, players that you've played with, tragically lose their lives, and I like what Coach did here, let the players decide. And, sometimes getting back into that quote-unquote normal routine is maybe the best therapy. I'm not a therapist. I don't pretend to be. But, trying to do something to get your mind off of things, probably a good idea.
Oh, absolutely. And the big thing that I can even say, I was 19 when I lost one of my first close friends, and losing a second one recently in the past year was goaltender Michael Doan, who quite familiar with Sioux, Michigan here. And I'll never forget the story. Just quickly, I was playing hockey at Thunder Bay when Matt passed away. I came home for a visit. It's the weekend that I came home, and I learned of his death died when he got hit by a vehicle. And the team that I was playing with in Thunder Bay actually told me that if I went to the funeral that I had to speak eulogy at, said that if I go to the funeral, I'm no longer playing for that organization.
Oh.
And they said I had to make a decision. So that was the easiest decision of my life, to stay home and do that, right? Yep. Then that was on my mind for a few months, and it almost made me quit hockey at the time. And the Sioux Thunderbirds were an organization that reached out to me and helped me get through that and bring me back and put me on summer ice and just say, Dave, look, you got to play. You got to think about it. I always wanted to continue to play hockey, but that made me just have that sour taste about how the business is. Right. But really, just to go what Scott was saying, like, it's just battling through it and having that mindset to really persevere through it and to really say, what, do it for him. Or, he wouldn't want me to sit here, he or she, whatever the situation may be. And, I have kudos for your players to be able to battle through and practice same day, because I know the same day I probably wouldn't have been able to practice. That's very, very tough mentally. And, it's unfortunate that this happens, but you definitely practiced through it, and to get through it, that's how you do it, is together, and the team did it and battled it together. And that's when you have your boys, I like to say, or your team, or your girls, if it's in that situation. It's always good to be on that field or on the ice or on that turf or court, whatever it may be, or if you're in music class, doesn't matter what kind of environment you're in, it's just having each other and having your own mindset to focus and get through it.
Yeah, and you've obviously played, we've all played it, and having a team, there's a bond there, and I think that, with our kids, I don't want to say luck has anything to do with it, but I think they were lucky to be part of a team. I don't know if a lot of those kids, if they weren't part of a team at this point, maybe wouldn't have dealt with it as well. And I think having that support was great, and again, I don't think anybody's going to get over it anytime soon. No. But I think being part of something like that and having an organization or a group that, stands behind you and is with you and can, sympathize with you, that's part of the healing process.
Scott Menard joining us on the game, and our thoughts and prayers, of course, go out to the Sinet family and all those that, are suffering from this loss. And Scott, I give you and your coaching staff and the teachers and the counselors so much respect and credit for getting those students through and still getting them through, because it's not over. No. And I do want to say, and I mentioned this a few weeks ago, talking about, if you need somebody to talk to them. Be nicer to people.
Yep.
There is help out there, and it's very important to me in the profession that I work at in mental health to, reach out, get help, and let's just all be nicer to each other. Maybe that might be a good idea too.
Yep. Completely agree.
Definitely may be going through a lot of issues, but somebody else that you might be putting down that could be going worse than you. So at the end of the day, always be kind. Definitely. Yep. Good job.
Scott, thanks for coming in again. I know it's been a tough week, and let's say maybe in 3 weeks you can come in again and talk about playoff football. What do you say?
That would be More than happy to do that, Scott.
It's a date. Thanks for coming in,
Thanks,
Coach.
buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and we'll be back with head coach Brandon Lokken from the Laker women's basketball team coming up on the game here on Eagle 95.1.
The Wicked Sister, Soo, Michigan. Check TripAdvisor, ranked right towards the top. Awarded the Certificate of Excellence, as well as voted #1 pub in the UP. The Wicked Sister has managed to create a casual menu that offers unique, creative, and sometimes healthy offerings that rivals menu selections of any big city. Burgers and starters, snacks and shareables, soups and salads, sandwiches and tapas. On Ashman Street, Soo, Michigan. Welcome to the Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
The Game Sports Show is pleased to shout out a partner, additional home, and sponsor to Northern Superior Brewing Company, located on 50 Pym Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Northern Superior Brewing Company having a strong presence locally with many beers to offer. With much involvement in the community of Sault Ste. Marie, Northern has a sport and friendly-like atmosphere within its tap room, and during the summer months, it is a must to visit Pier 55 to enjoy some delicious food, amazing view of the water, and view of the Bush Play Museum right on the cusp of the Hub Trail, and of course, all of that down with a delicious brew from Northern Superior. Northern Superior Brewing Company. It's a northern thing.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and special edition home to the game, Silver Creek Golf Course, located on 104 Bellow Lake Road, Garden River, Ontario. And also shout out thank you to Silver Creek GM Jamie Henderson. Silver Creek Golf Course has many specials to offer for 18 holes, 9 holes, and even Twilight Deal specials. It does not matter what your level of golf game is, it is a must to enjoy the scenic course, memorable experiences that Silver Golf Course offers. Silver Creek also offers a Thursday wing night for you to enjoy food after a stellar time on the course. You can book your tee time by phone or online at golfsilvercreek.com. Silver Creek Golf Course, where all are welcome to play.
Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.podbean.com or thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason and Dave McCaig broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street on this Monday night. And coming up next Monday here at the Wicked Sister from 6 to 9 p.m. it is the Battle of the Breweries between Shorts and Ordock, all in benefit of hospice. Come on down and join us. Definitely going to be a fun time. We'll be joined here at around 6:45 by Butch Davis from Butch On Sports. And then the second hour, the online hour, which you can find on the GameSportsShow.podbean.com, will feature myself, Dave, Butch Davis, and E.J. Russell. Want to thank Scott Menard for coming in, head coach of the Soo High Blue Devil football team, and want to welcome our next guest, head coach of the Laker women's basketball team, Brandon Lokken, joining us here at the Wicked Sister. Coach, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I believe last time we talked, Brandon, you still had that interim tag before your head coaching duties. Well, now you are the head coach for the Laker women's basketball team. Before we look at kind of this season, just kind of walk me through last season, taking over a team, interim, becoming coach, and then getting some victories towards the end of the season. How was last year overall before we get to this year?
Yeah, well, I feel very blessed to get to take over the program now. It's officially not being interim. It's just a great opportunity. And, you know, last year it was so much about building and changing the culture. And we had a great group of seniors that, you know, hey, you get a young first-time interim head coach, they could have said, hey, we don't want anything to do with what you're doing. And they bought right in. And from day one, it was turning around things, learning how to work, come together, and that's our focus was every day getting better. And by the end of the year, they didn't always result in wins, but you know we saw major success as far as the way we were competing as they slowly got to learn how we wanted to play. And so we think that it's really going to lead into a good year. It's been a great off season from that, and we're excited about seeing the progress continue.
So practices officially begin in 2 weeks on October 15th, but the girls are doing some conditioning, doing some working out. What can you as a coach do right now with the players until practice officially begins in a couple weeks.
Yeah, so we get about 8 hours. So we really focus. 6 of those are weight room and conditioning, and we're allowed to have 2 hours with the basketball. So that's practice, that's individual workouts that we do, and we spread those out. But we're just trying to get some toughness. Work together. Face. I like to look at it as a time we can put them in difficult, adverse situations, and there's no win or loss on the line. We can just come together in those workouts and gain some of that mental toughness to prepare for the season, and then we're slowly putting in a few of our things and getting the new kids up to speed in those workouts.
See, the big thing with coming in as an interim coach, just to step into get ready for the season, you came in and you had to prove that you were worthy for it to do that and gain the respect of your players, obviously.
Sure.
Obviously you have to kind of implement a program that you kind of saw for the players to do on and off the court.
Yep.
The big thing was it to have that program altered when you came in firstly to that first part of the question, to have to change what it currently was and kind of do your own thing, and coming into it now, did you realize something that works better? Do you believe in kind of team workouts or more individualized skill workouts kind of thing on and off the court, or what do you think is that balance for players?
Well, I think you got to do a little of both, because one of the things when you're really talking about, hey, we're about getting better every day, they want to see themselves get better. So we're looking at it as a team, and I probably get caught up in really caring about the team a lot, but to make sure they're bought in to continue to grow, they got to see themselves individually growing.
Yeah.
So when we get to spend time with them, especially in the preseason and postseason, those times in those individual workouts, they're seeing themselves grow in skills, and realistically we're really working those to fit where we want to go as a team, so it improves all of us, and it's kind of a balance of both, but it's all with the agenda of moving the team forward.
Like that.
Brandon Lokken joining us on the game, head coach of the Laker women's basketball team. And Coach, looking at the roster, young team this year, you do have 2 seniors and 3 juniors, and a lot of sophomores and freshmen, including 3 EUP products. Taylor Bryant, sophomore from Newberry, Michigan. You also have Abby Osman, redshirt freshman, sophomore status from St. Ignace, and you have Mackenzie Kalchik from Sioux High. So some local products on the team. For the fans in the area, that's a big thing, seeing some local products playing for Laker basketball. How have those 3 particularly done with you so far, last season and heading into this season?
Yeah, it's been great, obviously bringing in Kenzie from the Sioux. So we're getting to know her, and she's joining in the program. But with Abby and Taylor, they were great to work with. It's interesting. They're probably some of our more competitive players on the team. And so one of the best things they bring is a competition every day. They compete with each other, and it's a fun relationship from their rivalries playing in high school. And they really lead the way with how we compete in every drill, let alone every workout. And so that's probably been my most enjoyable part of working with all of them. And they're so bought into the team concept, and they're great leaders for where we're trying to go.
Coach, who are some of the other coaches that are helping you out this year, and staff? I believe you have the same assistant coaches coming back from last season.
Yeah, it's a huge perk for us. Staff consistency is one of the most important things. And when they were both brand new to coaching at the college level last year, and now just even seeing their comfort coming back and knowing what we're trying to do, and we can just work clicking on all cylinders when we approach things now, it is a huge part of what can allow us to take the next step. So it's been great to have Coach Sarah Holt and Coach Deion Parker for sure.
What for the fans listening, and to obviously the listeners in general and people who come out to the games, what can they expect from the court, from the players this year? What are the type of plays that they can expect? What are the type of performances they can expect on the court? You see you guys being a fast team, highly defensive team, just a pure mean attitude team. What do you see from your squad?
Well, definitely the goal is to be a hard-nosed team that's just not going to get outworked, and we want to have that toughness. And that takes time to develop, but we do think we're making strides to get there. Style of play, we want to play fast. We want to share the ball. You will see us sharing the ball. One of the things I think people always notice when they watch us play is that ball is snapping off. We don't have a lot of people over-dribbling it. We don't try to go isolation. We want to share the ball, move the ball, make people defend. We think the more sides of the floor we touch, the harder it is, and somewhere you're going to break down and we're going to get some great looks. So that's kind of how we work to play.
Looking at your schedule, Coach, you will begin play at the Bud Cooper Gymnasium on Saturday, October 27th with an exhibition game against Olivet, and then you're on the road a lot. In November, travel to Malone for the GLIAC-GMAC crossover. You also take on Ohio Valley, Alderson Brodus, I think I got that right, Indianapolis, Ashland.
That's good. I'll give you 99%.
Yeah, you start your conference play at Ashland at Wayne State. Those are a tough couple games to start conference, and then you come back and have your first conference home game on December 6th. Looking at the GLIAC, and it's very early, but, Ashland, Wayne State, Saginaw Valley, Northern, there are just a lot of good teams in this league, aren't there?
Every night.
Yeah.
Every night is a contest, and it's the same on the men's side. When you look at the GLIAC, it's just great for basketball. We know last year we had Ashland was the national runner-up, and on the men's side, Ferris won it.
And so Ashland won, I think, 2 years ago, didn't
Ashland
they?
won 2 years ago. Ashland had won 77 straight games.
Right.
In general, the league is just a great league. Every single night is a good competition, and that's what you want. That's where you want to compete at one of the highest levels. That's something the girls look forward to, and something we really enjoy.
Final question for you, Coach. You grew up, or I shouldn't say grew up, but your coaching was under Steve Hettinga, the men's head coach. We'll be getting him in here, I'm sure, coming up. Do you still, your relationship with Coach Hettinga right now, being the women's coach, do you still go to him for advice? Do you ever, have a couple of beverages and maybe discuss things? Or what is your relationship with Coach Hettinga?
All the time. Our offices are right next door.
There you go.
If I'm not in his office, he's in mine. And it's awesome to continue to get to lean on him for great advice. I mean, he's obviously built such a great program, and to be a part of it, it's something I really value. So it's really unique that I get to be around it. And, when we travel on the road and we're in conference, I get to watch them compete, and we just work together, and it's a great environment to work alongside someone you respect so much. So it's a great working environment, and I can always go to him. He's always there to give great advice.
Well, Coach, always good to have you on the show. Your excitement and passion for this shows over the airways, and we're looking forward to seeing it on the court as well. Thank you for joining us on the game. Best of luck this season. Hopefully we'll get you in here maybe one more time to talk Laker basketball. And good luck.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
And thank you. And that's going to do it here for this segment. We come back, we're going to talk Detroit sports with
who?
Butch Davis.
That's who it is.
From Butch On Sports. Butch will have a lot to say. He's going to be talking about the Lions game at Dallas, a game that many Lions fans thought the Lions would win, but those smart Lions fans knew they wouldn't win.
You called it. I'm not
going
to let you.
They're not going to win those kind of games.
Hashtag restore the war is not restore the roar. Wow, easy for me to say. But did not occur.
No, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Tigers season ending. We're also going to talk about the Detroit Red Wings. Butch is going to be at the Little Caesars Arena on Thursday for the opener against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Watch out for that team, by the way. The Blue Jackets.
A lot of subject to trade rumors, though.
Yeah.
Seth Jones going down, and Temi Panarin, and Corpusalo, guys that are on the trade block. But you know what? That team's got a lot of depth. That team's a very scary team coming out of the Metro. Politan, don't you love that division?
No, I don't. And then don't forget the full 2-hour show online at thegamesportshow.podbean.com, including our very spirited second hour where we will talk about a variety of subjects with Dave, myself, Butch, and E.J. Russell. Let's take a break. We come back. We're going to talk to Butch Davis from Butch On Sports here on The Game on Eagle 95.1.
Get wicked at Wicked Sister. You'll find the best tasting food for you and your family. Start off with some wicked appetizers like the crab dip, served with soft pretzel bites and warm non-bread strips, and delicious boneless chicken wings that are antibiotic and hormone-free with 5 choices of sauces. Try the barbecue pulled pork sandwich or the #1 selling drunken cow burger and the chicken caprese flatbread. Check out the Wicked Sister gluten-free menu and catering. The Wicked Sister, downtown Ashman Street, 7 days a week.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank a list of additional sponsors. North Shore Sports and Auto, new location located on 647 McDonald Avenue, Sault Ste. Marie. A family-owned and operated business with doing business in Sault Ste. Marie for over 10 years. Loads of products available for your enjoyment for all seasons. North Shore Sports and Auto, we understand the importance of quality service and products, and we work hard to ensure that all customers have a positive experience before and after each and every sale. North Shore Sports and Auto, meeting all of your new and pre-owned equipment needs. Special thanks to Salon. The Salon, located on 589 2nd Line East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Mike Cuglietta. Book your appointment today at 705-941-9191 or via online at https://thesalonsoo.as.me-. The Salon, making the Sioux beautiful, one haircut at a time. As well as a shout out to the Superior Pro Shop. The Superior Pro Shop, located inside the Community First Credit Union Superior Arena on 285 Northern Avenue East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Jeremy Paquin and ran by Larry Monroe. Superior Pro Shop, for over 40 years, meet all of your skate sharpening, skate repair, and hockey needs. Also to Discover the Canvas. Discover the Canvas, located on 317 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. A beautiful, new renovated building owned and operated by expert artist and Sioux native Katrina Thibodeau. Katrina taking her talents of the ink in Sault Ste. Marie and truly creating the best and most realistic art locally. Call Katrina today at 705-450-8800 888-646-8099 or email her at discoverthecanvas@gmail.com to book your tattoo or consultation today.
Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.podbean.com and thegamesportshow.com. Scott Nason broadcasting from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street on this Monday night. Our broadcast engineers, three of them, Katie Woolen, Trent Raymond, and Dallas Miller. Want to thank our guests so far, Scott Menard, head coach of the Soo High Blue Devil football team, and Brandon Lokken, head coach of the Laker women's basketball team. Coming up in the second hour, the online hour, the full 2-hour show online at thegamesportshow.podbean.com. We'll be rejoined by Dave McCaig. We'll also hear from E.J. Russell from Escanaba, Michigan, yours truly, and our next guest. His name is Butch Davis. You can find his radio broadcast of Butch On Sports, 3 editions from last week, on thegamesportshow.podbean.com, or go directly to his podcast site, Simply Butch 2. That's TOO.podomatic.com. Butch, how you doing on this first day of October, my friend?
I'm doing clever. How yourself, Scott?
I am doing wonderful, Butch. Let's get right to the sports because we have lots to cover in the world of Detroit sports, including our beloved Detroit Lions. As running back for the Dallas Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott, he had a career best 240 yards and a touchdown, including a late catch in the fourth quarter, lifting the Cowboys to a 26-24 victory over the Detroit Lions. Lions had the lead late. Matt Stafford had a solid game, 24 of 30 for 307 yards and a pair of touchdowns. But the Lions' running game disappeared after a long carry by Kerryon Johnson to start the game. He only got a handful of touches after that. Makes you scratch your head as a Lions fan once again as the Lions drop to 1-3. And they will take on Green Bay this Sunday at Ford Field. Butch, we talked about it last week. You get excited as a Lions fan, but they have to back up a big victory. They just didn't have enough yesterday, did they?
They didn't have enough, and again, I will repeat it. It's on the 4th week. No, well, maybe the 5th or 6th week here. If the backs are working just fine for the Detroit Lions have an excellent shot of winning the game. They have those personnel in place. They got to insist that they do a yeoman's job in order for that team to win. If they don't do it, they're not going to win. And we saw that in this particular game. Once again, an Ohio State graduate beat the crap out of a Michigan team, okay? And, this man, he played his rear end off here. We're talking about Ezekiel Elliott there. He didn't waver. He played his rear. He ran. He caught the ball. He did everything but sell popcorn and peanuts in the stands. And I'm quite sure if he was able to do that, he probably would do that as well.
You're right.
Really he would.
You look at the Lions, Butch, and, the passing game was working. Stafford was getting protection. You looked at Tate, Galladay, and Jones all had good games, and, the Lions are right there, but it's just, again, this team, dumb penalties, and you scratch your head. They had an offside on a key third down, and just mental lapses that I guess other teams have them too, Butch, but it seems like the Lions have them more than not. Sometimes many times, they just don't play smart football, do they?
Well, they don't play smart football, and it's about time that the upper management and staff, maybe have a sit down and come to whatever meeting with the Detroit Lions on how to be, maturity wins a lot of games as well there, and they have not showed that maturity as yet. This is a kid's game, and I can understand no, not one. But when you see plays like what the Golden Tate did, okay, at the end of a touchdown, or even before he got in the end zone,
right?
That is a bunch of trash.
Yep.
Okay, that's trash, and everyone is laughing at you because you lost the game It did nothing to geek this team up and make them play harder. It made everybody talk about you like a dog, because that is the talk today in Detroit.
Yep.
Is how this guy go in there and score a touchdown and play with it like it's a joke, okay? You know, good teams go and score a touchdown first before they have anything to say. At least win the game before they have a lot to say. Golden Tate took this as a big fat joke. And if he's doing that, the rest of the team is doing that as well. And it's about time that our beloved head coach sit down and talk to these kids about basically being mature, okay? That is stupid. You're on national TV. You do things like that. At the end of the day, everyone is laughing at you. All the networks are laughing at you because you lost the game. You lost the game because someone had a little bit more heart than you did. And this is what this breaks down to. The defensive backs didn't get the job done. They didn't get the ball to the running backs at all. So where do you go from here? You go back to what made you successful in that New England game. And that was a balanced attack, and that was some maturity there, okay? And if they do that, they can win a lot of games. If they don't do that, and the head coaching staff don't step up and say, hey, look, fellas, this is no longer a joke. If you want to joke that way, we have a place for you, on the bench, or we put you on waivers. Same and simple, okay? Because we want people who wants to win. We want players who want to learn how to be mature. And, you know, you feel bad for the players who put their heart and soul in this game and got absolutely nothing out of it.
Butch, let's continue with the Detroit Tigers. The good news for the Tigers, the season is over. The good news is they finished third place. However, the teams below them, fourth and fifth, both lost over 100 games as the Tigers end their season, losing at Milwaukee 11-0, finishing the season 64-98. The Milwaukee Brewers did win the Central in the National League today, defeating the Chicago Cubs. It looks like the Dodgers are likely to beat the Colorado Rockies. Butch, Tigers season not good. Off-season, what are you looking for as this team enters a major, or they're in a major rebuilding cycle, which looks to continue probably for the next couple of years, if not more?
Well, again, we go to the statement: how many of these players will mature to next year and come in with a lot more fire and a lot more spunk? There's some things that are missing on this team that has to happen. That's number one. Their bullpen has to be a lot more precise. They have to be a lot more reliable. Their starting pitchers have to be well, okay? They can't come into training camp, half past, and a quarter to the you fill in the blanks boys and girls there, okay? They can't do that. Hitters, okay? They got to have a lot more sense in reliability of hitting the ball where it lies. And I hate to use that statement. It's a golf statement, but again, you got a big park. It's not what you call a home runs park, but you can do some damage because most of the metrics now in all of baseball uses shifts. And if you manipulate a shift in the proper sense by learning how to hit the ball or hitting what you receive, you're going to get a lot of hits. You're going to get a lot of success. The Tigers need to learn how to hit the ball. They need to learn how to play a lot more small ball. When I say small ball, bunting the ball, being able to advance the runners properly, not making mistakes in the outfield and defense there. They are coming up, and I'm quite sure many of the players, hopefully they use the offseason to improve themselves in what they're weak at rather than to just sit on home and do absolutely nothing. And then they come into camp, and the camp is being ran like it has been ran in the last 5 or 6 years, not doing the basics to make you a better team during the season.
Butch, let's move on to the Detroit Red Wings. You are going to be at Little Caesars on Thursday covering the game for Butch On Sports and for our station and sports show as the Wings will open up the 2018-2019 season against the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Wings did make some roster moves on Sunday to get down to their 23-man roster. Forward Michael Rasmussen and defenseman Dennis Cholowski, they're going to be on the roster, as well as forward Christopher Entz. And first-round draft pick Philippe Zadina, he's going to begin the season in Grand Rapids. But you've had a chance to see the Red Wings quite a bit during this preseason. What's your thoughts heading into the home opener on Thursday?
I see them as being a very good competitive team this year. A lot more hope than I had in years past. Now, you don't have the veterans that they have had, I say in the past. I hate to use that word again, in the past. But again, I think it's a good thing. The Red Wings showed me this particular preseason that they have a lot of energy, a lot better skating, a lot faster skating on the team, and they're going to need that with some of the teams that are a lot more bulkier and whatnot there. The Red Wings, if they use their speed, and I'm not going to say that the Red Wings are not bigger, they are a bigger team than they have in years past there. These kids are hungry, and I think the Red Wings having a huge advantage because some of these players that they're keeping have played in Grand Rapids and seen some success at playoff renegers there. And if they do that and they go out there and play just as hard as they did in the preseason, I think we'll see a playoff caliber team out there. Their goaltending, I do believe, is a lot better. Bernier will add something to this team rather than you depend on a whole heck of a lot of time on Jimmy Howard. I won't not be surprised if that tour is split until we find a conceivable winner who's going to take the majority of the road during maybe the butt end of the season, or maybe in, I say, February or March, where that goaltender, that hot goaltender, as we say, get the majority of the starts. But don't be surprised at that. I like the pursuit of the young kids, and they have a lot more defensemen this year than they have kept in past years. And I like that a lot because, again, that's where the Detroit Red Wings have done a lot of lacking here in protecting that goaltender. Their shifts were a lot quicker. They were a lot more sporadic, as I noticed this particular preseason there, where they use a lot of defensemen, not keeping them on the ice a considerable lot of time, but normally switching them up, maybe getting anywhere from 45 seconds to maybe a minute and a half just on the ice itself, making them a lot more fresher throughout the game. They were a lot more aggressive, and I see a Red Wing team that's going to show you something that they haven't shown in the past. That's some speed and some more or less a regularity as far as covering men and forechecking there.
Butch, we got about 2 minutes left in hour one. Let's briefly talk about the Detroit Pistons, who will open up exhibition play on Wednesday at Oklahoma City. They'll also be at San Antonio on Friday, and their home preseason opener will be next Monday against Brooklyn. I know, listening to your show, Stan Van Gundy, he's got himself a new dig with the four-letter network we like to call ESPN. What's your thoughts on the Pistons entering preseason in about a minute, if you can wrap it up in about a minute?
Right now, you know what? It's a wait-and-see proposition because we haven't really seen them play any exhibition ball. What I'm looking for the Pistons this year is a lot more stamina. Again, stamina was the big key for the Pistons there. And many of the games they lost in the second half last year, they would come out there with gangbusters, and in the second half they just totally just fell apart. Casey this year brought in some decent people as far as keeping stamina going there. He brought a whole new crew of trainers and whatnot because he saw that particular lack of success in the second half there. If the Pistons can stay healthy, and we use Reggie Jackson as an example, coming into camp healthy this year, then rather than picking and digging his nose, being that, limping through the season and whatnot, it's a big difference there. So let's look at the Pistons as maybe hopefully an upswing. They are a playoff team if all the pieces are in place.
Butch Davis joining us on the game. Butch will continue to join us for the full 2-hour show online at thegamesportshow.podbean.com. Butch, stand by. We'll get you back on here in a few minutes for our roundtable.
All righty.
And that's going to do it here for hour one and on the radio. I want to thank our guests tonight, including Sioux High head football coach Scott Menard and Lake Superior State University women's head basketball coach Brandon Lokken, Dave McCaig, who will also join us in hour 2, and our broadcast engineers Katie Woolen, Trent Raymond, and Dallas Miller. For those on the radio, we'll get back to classic hits at random, and then for those online, we'll continue with the game coming up on Eagle 95.1.
The Wicked Sister, Soo, Michigan. The Wicked Sister has managed to create a casual menu that offers unique, creative, and sometimes healthy offerings that rivals menu selections of any big city. Both the kitchen and the bar are filled with a staff who are exceptional at their jobs, producing signature items that have made the Wicked Sister a destination for foodies and beer nerds alike. On Ashman Street, Soo, Michigan. Welcome to the Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game. It's all about the game and how you play it. All about control, and if you can take it, all about your debt. And if you can pay it, it's all about pain. And who's gonna make it?
Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1 and online at thegamesportshow.podbean.com or thegamesportshow.com. Hour 2 of our 2-hour extravaganza here from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street. Yours truly, along with Dave McCaig at the Wicked Sister. Kegger, thanks for coming back in and joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Scotty.
And also joined still by Butch Davis from Butch On Sports, and our next guest, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. E.J. Russell, coming to us from the tropics of the Upper Peninsula known as Escanaba, Michigan. E.J., how you doing tonight, my friend?
Feeling tropical like the Flint Tropics, you know. It's beautiful weather here. It is 49 degrees and raining. So just, you know what? It's the perfect day to talk some sports.
Absolutely. And this is the portion of the show, the roundtable. We got the full hour as for the four horsemen of the game. We'll be talking sports.
Yeehaw!
EJ, you're our newest guest, so we're going to give you first crack at the topic. Dave, I'll give you the first reply, then Butch, then myself. So, E.J. Russell, what would you like to bring up on tonight's roundtable?
Well, despite my love for the NFL, which I'm sure at some point we'll talk about, I want to talk some college football today. And the question for the roundtable or discussion that I want to open up is, with Clemson making changes at the quarterback and Ohio State pulling off last second dramatics against Penn State, right now at this point in college football, who are the first four teams that you have in the playoff? Also, who is the one team that you have on the outside looking in that you're excited about?
Butch, we're going to give you first crack at this, then myself, and then Dave. This is the kind of the time of season, Butch, October, we like to start talking more about college football. What's your thoughts on EJ's topic?
Oh, boy. Little soon for me, but I'm going to take a crack at this bad boy. We know Alabama will be there, okay? Let's eliminate them right now. They'll be there. So that's one team in the mix here. We probably, 9 times out of 10, the way it has went in the past, we're going to see another SAC or ACC team fall into place, another down south team. I don't think the NCAA has learned anything from the UCF catastrophe that happened last year. I don't think they're going to do any doggone thing about that. Again, when expansion comes, and hopefully they think about that long and hard, that will happen. I'm looking at a Big Ten team being in play, regardless if it's Michigan or Michigan State or maybe Ohio State, who has the catbird seat in that Big Ten team being in the place, providing they do what they need to do in the Big Ten playoffs there or the championship game. We don't know how that's going to go, but we definitely know that a Big Ten team will be in there. Now, as far as the West Coast is concerned, that is kind of etchy, as I say. I looked at Washington very well there. They look pretty doggone spiffy there. as far as their playing is concerned. But you got some other teams in the mix there that's going to be somewhat very competitive. Colorado, I watched them, and they don't look too doggone bad. You look at some other teams that comes into play in the Southeast, usually the old Southeast Conference per se, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State. Those teams will come in the ante. So it's very hard. Now, again, it's very early in the play where you can kind of decipher some teams of just coming out there on top. But right now, it's a gambit, and I would say maybe a couple more games need to be played in order to be a little bit more definitive of what teams really look like they have a huge possibility of being in that playoff. Clemson, again, those teams are going to make changes as much as they probably have to because they are good teams, and they do have that talent laying back in the weeds that they can place on in there to get more mileage out of them. Georgia doesn't look too bad of a team either, okay? So, again, looking at all this right now there, give me a couple more weeks, I can be a lot more definitive there. But the only team right now I see that has a heads up is Alabama.
Butch, I'll go next. I'm going to agree with a lot of what you just said. No question right now that Alabama is heads and shoulders above everybody. They haven't been tested too much with their schedule, but boy, they're just looking like an unbeatable unit. And I think even more than last year. I mean, you look at two quarterbacks. I mean, very well either one could start and probably do the job, but they're playing both. And Alabama right now, I think, is in. I do agree with Butch. Until you actually get the BCS rankings coming out in a couple weeks, a little tough to speculate now, but I like it, EJ, because it's October, so I like talking more about college football. I think things are going to be very similar to the way they were last year, if I had to prognosticate right now, with the exception that the Big Ten is going to replace the Pac-10 and get somebody in. And right now, I think that team is Ohio State. I think their biggest hurdle was Penn State. They have two big wins on the road, TCU and Penn State. They have Michigan State. I'm not sold on Michigan State at all right now. The game against Central was not maybe as close as the score indicated. State was up 31-3 and then brought in the reserves, and they ended up beating Central Michigan 31-20, but they're going to have a hard time stopping that Ohio State offense, and Michigan State's going to have to get the running game going. Then you have Michigan, probably the other toughest matchup for Ohio State. Michigan, they're 4-1, but they're not looking that good right now. But they're 4-1. So, do I see Jim Harbaugh beating Urban Meyer in a meaningful game? Absolutely not. So I like Alabama. I like Ohio State, and then I like another SEC team in, because the way you look at it right now, and there's a boatload of SEC teams that are up there right now. Georgia at number 2. I don't believe they have to play Alabama this year. They play in the much easier East Division of the West. You have LSU at number 5, Auburn at number 8, and you have, how about Kentucky at number 13, a team that you don't think about much for college football. So I think the SEC very well could get 2 teams in. Now, the only way other conferences, I think, get a team in besides the Big Ten is by somebody going undefeated. Now, Clemson might be that team in the ACC. They did get a scare against Syracuse, but they did win that game. And right now, the ACC maybe doesn't look as strong as past years. I mean, you look at the remaining schedule right now, they only have one ranked team remaining, and that's at home against NC State. They have no other ranked teams that they have to play. So I really think Clemson gets in. So you have Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, and then unless one of these other teams go undefeated, like Notre Dame, who's 5-0, you have in the Big 12, Oklahoma and West Virginia. They're both undefeated. So if one of those teams go undefeated, I think you have to put them in. And then you have Central Florida, a team that just keeps winning. They just keep winning. They're ranked 12th. They're 4-0. Can they get up to the top 4? Probably not, because of the way the system is. And you look at the schedule, they don't play any ranked teams at all in their remaining 7. They're playing the likes of SMU, Navy, Cincinnati, Central Florida, Southern Florida. So, unless one of these big power conferences goes undefeated, I think you have 2 SEC teams, I definitely think you have Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, and then either LSU, Auburn, Georgia, maybe Kentucky. But Pac-12, I think, is in big trouble right now. Washington, the highest-ranked team, or Pac-12, excuse me, said that, at number 10. If they went out, maybe. But right now, it's the power is in the SEC, as well it probably should be, because it's the best conference in football, year in and year out. Dave? College football,
that's
maybe,
my cup of tea.
Not
Hey, Scotty.
maybe your wheelhouse, but what are your thoughts early on looking at rankings and teams that you see?
Well,
Sorry,
it's like
Kicker.
shooting a bullet in the dark. You don't know what target you're going to hit when it comes to me talking college football, but at the end of the day, it's obviously fun to watch and very exciting. I've been actually watching a lot of Michigan games. Good friends of mine are also Notre Dame fans, so trying to absorb that kind of side of college football. But people obviously know I'm an Oregon guy.
They won. Butch and you were happy this weekend?
Yeah, Oregon guy. I got to give credit to Marcus Mariota for being that guy for making me watch there.
Big win yesterday for Mr. Mariota.
I didn't put Davis in my fantasy lineup either. Oh, I know I lost by 3 points this week to go 1-4. First year ever not been in top 2. I'm really rattled. But anyways, to answer your question, EJ, getting back on top before I flip this table over for being upset at fantasy football. College football, I'm going to be straight out. Listen, I watch the games. I'm into it. But really, I'm a really statistics online absorbing guy when it comes to college football. And obviously, I think you can know this answer just by looking at Alabama as definitely the team. Obviously, that's simple. There's screen all over the TV and over social media. Also, Clemson being a 2. I like that. I also like Ohio State, like you said, Scotty, and Georgia not being too far behind that. So teams that I'm watching out for, obviously, DJ, is Clemson and Alabama are the 2 teams. But one team that does stick out to me is quite interesting is I'm going to kind of go with Miami. I'm going to kind of go that route. They kind of crept up into the top 10.
Early loss.
Early loss, but they definitely climbed up into a lot of experts' eyes this year and going to the top 10 on some websites. If you look at Sporting News, you look at some ESPN sites, outlet sites like that, and just by reading on, I'm seeing them kind of being that team. I think there's a Cinderella team that could be really to watch out for. I'm going to stick with Miami. And that's my little insider with college football.
Very good, sir. E.J. Russell, your thoughts on your topic before we get to Butch Davis for his topic?
Well, I think Butch absolutely nailed this team to pay attention for out west, and that's the Colorado Buffaloes. Okay, this team is 4-0, leading their division in the Pac-12. Okay. They've got wins over UCLA, Nebraska. Okay, neither of those teams looking fantastic, but looking at those games on the schedule, those are big games to win. Regardless of whatever the record is. They got Arizona State coming up in USC in Washington. So these next 3 weeks, we're going to see if Colorado is for real. And if Colorado escapes those 3 games with all wins, look out for them to be in the driver's seat. And here's why I say that. I don't think Clemson is as good as people think they are. They go to their backup quarterback. The second they do that, the one guy leaves. And their names are eluding me right now as I'm attempting to look them up. So please, anybody chime in and give their names if we have it. Kelly, I think the one kid's name was, he leaves. And the long blonde-haired quarterback comes in. But Clemson, I just don't think they're as good as they were the last 2 years. And I think Dabo Swinney's still a great coach. But Alabama's definitely leading the way. I think Ohio State gets in, assuming they beat Michigan State and Michigan. Those are 2 big games that they cannot look past. But if they win that, they win out the Big Ten, they're in. So you got Alabama, Ohio State. I think Clemson is going to end up bowing out. I do think there's a second SEC team, and I think this year, I think it might be LSU. LSU looks good. Ed Orgeron has those boys looking well above what many people thought they were going to look like. Defense looks very, very hungry, attacking the ball, making plays. And then the number 4 team, if they win out, you got to go with UCF. And I think that to win that many games in a row, you would be in the playoff discussion. And regardless as to who they do or do not play, to win that many games in a row, you're doing something right. Put them in. Let the underdog get the nod on one of these. I think people, UCF would get a ton of attention from people. And I think that football fans would rally behind them and really push for them to do well. But I'd say right now, if I had to pick my Final Four as it stands, I'll go Notre Dame 4, Ohio State 2, Alabama 1, and LSU at number 3.
Great topic, EJ. Let's continue the roundtable here on the game. Scott Nason and Dave McCaig, broadcaster from the Wicked Sister, are also joined by Butch Davis, who will give us the next topic. And I will get first crack at Butch's topic. Dave, you'll get next shot. So Butch Davis from Butch On Sports. What do you want to talk about on the roundtable tonight?
Well, we can talk about a whole heck of a lot of things. We can talk about the Riders Cup and all this other good stuff. But you know what? One of the concerns that many people looked at this weekend was Earl Thomas, okay, and the injury that he sustained in the game that he played in. Now, we know what he went through this offseason, trying to hold out, maybe asking for a trade, but he was a franchise particular player. And again, the team that would put him in that position felt that they gave him enough money just to stay for 1 year. Then we heard the Bell situation in the Steelers, and he's refusing to play at all because he wants that long-term contract there. Now, the NBA, Major League Baseball, even down to maybe the National Hockey League has some setups providing where you do get those long-termers. But again, with this franchise particular setup that the NFL have, it's very hard to more or less gauge a long-term deal unless you are, quote-unquote, a quarterback or some type of special player. I haven't seen maybe a lineman per se there. But again, get your feelings on that particular that little quote that Earl Thomas gave to the bench of the Seattle Seahawks yesterday, and he was rolled off the particular grounds there, letting them know how much he really cared. I would have gave him the double, I would never gave him the single. But again, and you can see how he feels about it. I want to get you guys' take on that.
Yeah, I happened to see that injury while I was watching NFL Red Zone. Earl Thomas's season appears to be done as he broke his leg in the Seahawks win over the Arizona Cardinals. It was one of those plays where I think he was jumping over somebody and just leg went wrong. And, well, I'll tell you what, there was an injury that was even more gruesome yesterday. Tyler Eifert there for the tight end for the Cincinnati Bengals. Don't look it up. Do not look up that injury. It's one of those ones where the leg just went, and boy, that's a guy that's just had tons of injuries, unfortunately. He's a great player when healthy, but, the NFL's a rough and dangerous game, and Earl Thomas let the benches be known, Dave, with the middle finger, which in Europe would have been okay. You can throw your middle finger in Europe, and you're not actually flipping anybody off. It's the index? What's the second finger? The long finger?
Yeah, I think
that's actually how you flip people off in Europe. But Butch brings up a good point. I mean, the quarterback position obviously is one that is protected in the NFL, as you're seeing with some of the calls or lack of calls on the field. I mean, I know EJ's probably going to talk about the one that happened in Oakland where David Carr was they ruled in the grasp, and he wasn't even in the grasp, in my opinion. Ball comes loose, Cleveland brings it back for a touchdown, but that's a whole other story for another time. But, I do feel for Earl Thomas as far as risking it, and it's one of those things that this could be a career-ending thing. If this doesn't heal up. So, Dave, your thoughts on Earl Thomas? I know you got a lot to say about this.
You know what? I kind of want to stick to karma being a thing. Is that
Sure.
I don't know if that's the direction I want to go with it. I feel that I'm old school. It's basically because of maybe why I'm on the microphone and not on the field or the ice or anything like that. But I really think that if you really want to play a sport, you'll play it. And if you really love a sport, you'll remember the days of grinding and working hard to get there. And yes, money is definitely a thing. You want to get your work paid out. You want to make what you earned. I get it. But the type of situation that Earl Thomas is in, it's not like he can up and leave. And really how someone can
sit there and say, I'm just going to come in and play this year and I want to leave at the end of this year, or, I don't want to be here and have those negative thoughts, or even that really refers to maybe more so Le'Veon Bell than Earl Thomas, because Le'Veon's not playing, where Earl took the risk. But, his middle finger to his own sidelines, okay, that wasn't to the Arizona Cardinals sidelines.
Yeah, when I first thought it wasn't, I'm like, why is he flipping these guys off? They didn't do anything.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, they did some zoom-ins on the other sidelines, and there was nothing. There's got to be chirps. There's got to be something with Earl not feeling welcome there. But how someone could sit there and say, look, I love this game of football, and you know what, not re-sign even for the year or whatever it may be. If I'm a professional athlete, I'm looking at it from the glass full, not just half full. I'm here to look for my family and myself. Look, if I can't get a full contract that I want as a full year, and hey, I'm a free agent next year, fine. I'll take that 1-year deal, but guess what? Don't even offer me an extension because I am leaving. I want a contract security. I've earned it. Earl Thomas is one of the best defensive players in the National Football League. Well, till last night, which we'll see how that injury he heals from.
Yeah.
And you look at Le'Veon Bell, and you kind of think of it in that end of where they're one of the best running backs in football. He's sitting there saying, look, I'll stay home. I won't risk getting hurt. I want what I want, and if you don't give it to me or trade me, I'll just sign somewhere next year. That's not how someone can stay home, though. I don't get it, but so I respect Earl for playing, but I don't respect him giving the middle finger to his own sidelines. I understand he, at the moment, been there, done that, but at the end of the day, you're playing a sport in front of millions upon millions of fans, and he's a role model to a lot of football players and kids based on his stature in the NFL. So he should have just, this year, I respect how he played. He should have took the 1-year deal and said, okay, look, I feel that I'm worth more than the year, but I'll play this year. And if I get hurt, hey, I'm making $15 million. I remember when I lived at home and my mom and dad were only making 40 and 50, maybe what he was saying, 60, 70, 80, doesn't matter how much they were making. But at the end of the day, he had to work to get where he was. Whatever happened to that passion in the game? Maybe I'm too old school for saying that, but for Earl Thomas to give the bird, I think is a spin on the sport as well, and I really feel like his actions, I wouldn't mind a little discipline. Let's put a little salt on the wound and give him a fine for giving the middle finger. Hey, look, you're losing money now, pal. Now you're going to lose this. That sucks, eh? So I really think that Earl Thomas got to look at it and say, look, I had this year. I didn't take that 1-year deal and then go be a free agent. I should have just played out this year, let it sign out, and then next year look at other options. And speaking of Bell, I got to say quick, the Steelers need him back. I don't care what anybody says. I know that defense is meh. Excuse me. But you look at Browns getting double coverage, and Ben's not able to give him the ball. Juju Smith-Schuster can only do so much. Connor's doing a great job in coverage, but he's not Le'Veon Bell. And the Steelers, if they're going to win this year, they got to do something about it. So these players, Bell and Thomas, that are looking for those contracts, just play the game because you love it. Don't disrespect it. Or if you're not going to play, make it known right away and be like, look, move me now, or just don't let me play this year. Make it known in public. Don't make it a game. Don't make it entertainment. I know we're media and we love feeding off this, but if I was in that predicament of Earl Thomas, I'd be like, hey, look, this is what I'm taking for the year and I'm leaving. If I'm Le'Veon Bell, I'm like, look, I'm not playing for you this year unless you give me 5 years. If you don't, I'm gone. Period.
Let's go to E.J. Russell before we get to Butch on his thoughts on his own topic. E.J., Earl Thomas, what's your thoughts?
I think Earl Thomas was 100% justified to be as angry and upset with the Seahawks as he was. And I think, obviously, as Butch said, his quote was, as elegant as his quote was, I think that the message was clear, and I don't think that I see a whole lot wrong with it, because Earl Thomas has gone above and beyond for that franchise. He's part of their Super Bowl winning team. He's been a key player for them, holding things together on that defense and still making them dangerous. He's done that single-handedly, and he deserved better than what happened to him this year. And he really is allowed to be upset, and he's a great player in this league. I think he will recover, and I hope he plays for another team in that division that has to play Seattle twice a year, and I hope he punches them in the mouth every time, not physically punch them, but as a defensive football player, hit them hard and really get at them. I do think he'll end up with Dallas, which is where he's wanted to play. But Le'Veon Bell is going to report to the Steelers on Week 7. You guys hit on that one too, Le'Veon Bell, Dave, you did. Bell is coming back Week 7, And he's stating in part of his reasons that he knows his worth and, quote, I can tear a ligament or get surgery at any time. I knew I couldn't play 16 games with 400 or more touches. He's saying he feels vulnerable. The best players in these leagues, especially in the NFL, at these key positions, those players deserve to be paid, or at least in a situation like Earl Thomas, he didn't want to be in Seattle anymore. He deserved to be traded, and they should have found a way to make that work with the Cowboys. I won't touch on anything involving the Browns game officiating. My thoughts on that are exactly what you think they would be in every part of that. But the NFL, these guys need to be treated with respect. Earl Thomas, he will be fined. We all know he's going to get fined for that gesture. The fact that there are uncensored versions out there, the NFL is not going to look kindly on that. So he will be fined as far as that goes. But when he comes back, and I know that he will, I hope that he's still as great a football player as he is the day that he got hurt, and Le'Veon Bell citing the same reasons that he doesn't want to get injured.
Butch, your thoughts on your own topic before I throw one out to the round table?
I got some good comments from all of you guys there, Dave especially, and also EJ there. Some opposite opinions on what he should or should not do, but at the end of the doggone day here, you make a decision on if you stay or if you go. And Earl Thomas made the decision to stay. And I respect that. And he got a lot of money for it. I think $15 million worth of 1 year's worth of compensation that many of us will never see, okay? So in that regard, him playing there, he made a decision. He has to live with it. Flipping the bird off to the fans and whatnot, you can feel his disgust in that, maybe more disgusted with himself than he is with the team that he made the bye with there. But again, it's very bad. The NFL is not looking good on how they run their house, okay? And especially when it comes down to players like Earl Thomas, who's very deserving of an extension, a little bit more money in the pocket, and a lot more security for him himself and as well as his family. I don't see that dedication with the NFL as I would see with all the other leagues or professional leagues involved right now there. And the NFL has taken a bunch of slaps in the face, and this is another one that the NFL will take in regards to showing some loyalty toward the players and the society that they represent in order to do all of this. You can't tell someone, at 30 years old, you don't have as much as you had in the tank. You may not, but if your heart is there, and in Earl Thomas's case, he stayed another year against all wishes altogether there. You hate seeing that. Flipping the bird off, I kind of was, I didn't like it per se, but I can understand how he felt in regards to it because maybe he'll be a bunch of garbage to Seattle now. His leg is broken. He cannot do no more for the rest of the season. Again, we'll find out later on in life if he continues to go or he's able to go. But again, the NFL got to find some ways to respect all players. The quarterback is just one position and a slew of many people who play this game. And, when I look at players, I used to look at the Oakland Raiders and a player named Ray Guy, okay? How valuable was that guy when he played the game and just punting the ball, and how Oakland gave him that particular slew of money that he needed because he was just so important. George Blanda, okay, who was 46 years old, got more respect than Earl Thomas got, okay, when it came down to playing this game and doing the things he did and came off the bench, and many felt that he could not do it. The NFL has lost that, okay? They have lost this as everyone, except the quarterback, is a package, and this focus that the quarterback is all is all that. If I had to go to the Detroit Lions and look at Matthew Stafford, he's in the garbage bin as far as I'm concerned because the quarterbacks that are coming out there now, and I looked at Travinsky yesterday, I looked at Mayfield over there for Cleveland. Boy, those young men are a lot more exciting, and they have put more into this doggone game right now, and they haven't been here just a hard fart, okay? It's ridiculous, okay, the stock we put on in, but yet and still, when the results come about, these players want to blame everybody else but themselves. So, again, the NFL is going to have to do a better job of administrating that everyone counts for something, okay? And Earl Thomas, as disgusting as it is right now, hopefully he gets better. Hopefully that Seattle will come with an olive branch there because he doesn't need to be fined. I think Seattle needs to show this man that he is deserving of some security.
Continuing the roundtable on the game here at the Wicked Sisters, Scott Nason and Dave McCaig online. Butch Davis and E.J. Russell come down to the Wicked Sister next Monday night as they are having their Battle of the Breweries from 6 to 9 o'clock on Monday. October 8th. Shorts Brewery will be going up against Ordok, all in benefit of Dancing with the Stars, brought to you by the Hospice of the Eastern Upper Peninsula. Let's continue the roundtable. My turn for a topic. Dave, I'll give you first crack. Well, let's talk about the NFL on the field as far as some of the games and some of the things that we've seen here over the first quarter of the season. A lot of parity right now in the NFL. You only have two undefeated teams, the LA Rams, who defeated Minnesota on the Thursday night game, 38-31. Jared Goff with 5 touchdowns in that one. One of two undefeated teams. We'll see right now if Kansas City remains undefeated. They have a game in Denver starting in a little under an hour when we're recording our show. And then you only have one winless team, the Arizona Cardinals, who couldn't knock out the Seattle, I almost said Supersonics, the Seattle Seahawks yesterday. You have a lot of parity in the NFL right now and some surprise teams. I mean, looking at some of the 3-1 teams, you have Miami, who got their butts kicked to New England. Cincinnati and Baltimore, both 3-1, the AFC North. I don't think many people had them 3-1. Jacksonville 3-1. Yeah, I think a lot of people did. Tennessee 3-1, maybe not. You have Denver at 2-1, possibly could be 3-1. The Bears 3-1. Wow, how good did they look yesterday? Mitchell Trubisky and boy, that Cohen at running back is amazing. New Orleans at 3-1. The defense played pretty well yesterday. So those are some of the teams as far as overachieving and definitely some teams underachieving. We talked about the Lions, Houston at 1-3. I think a little underachieving as well. So Dave, I'll give you first crack, and then we'll go to EJ and Butch, but. Week 4 of the NFL and just the NFL at the quarter season mark. What's your thoughts? Pittsburgh tied with Cleveland, 1-2-1.
Well, you know what? I'm going to give respect to Cleveland. I got respect. I even said
they could be 4-0.
They could be. They actually, I predicted them to win 5 at least this year. So, you know, I would like them not to have tied the Steelers and get the win, but this is football. That's how it is. And Cleveland's looking good, and Baltimore and Cincinnati are looking pretty good. Falco looked pretty good yesterday. You know, the Pittsburgh Steelers are in a little bit of trouble. You know, they're 1-2-1 right now. This is on the back looking in. They're 2 games back at Baltimore and Cincy. You don't want to get behind in that division. You really don't want to. And, you know, Jaylen Brown, I believe I pronounced him right, Baltimore. Jaylen, is that his name?
I believe so, yeah.
I know I'll get corrected if I'm incorrect. But, you know, the Baltimore receivers looking top. You know, they got Crabtree and Brown there. The Ravens improved, you know, in Cincinnati. You know, losing Eifert yesterday, it seems like that's going to be might be a big loss, but they do have A.J. Green. They got a good – I actually do believe a little bit in Andy Dalton. I don't think he's a top 10. I think he's more of a bottom 10 quarterback, but there's a guy that can still get the job done.
And Mixon's out. The running back.
Yeah.
Bernard's doing very well.
See, Dalton's just, I think, very smart with the ball. That's his only plus. He doesn't have a cannon on him. He doesn't have Aaron Rodgers' stature. He doesn't have any of that, but he's just smart with the football. So I really think that they got the Steelers are behind in that division right now, and they got to smarten up. They want to get back into it. And, you know, that game yesterday, between Pittsburgh and Baltimore, Pittsburgh was battling back, and then they couldn't stop Baltimore's offense. And when you have Justin Tucker come off the sideline,
that guy automatic or
yeah,
what?
That's why I went 0-4 in fantasy this week, because that kicker got 14 or whatever points yesterday and made me get defeated by a couple points.
He's never missed an extra point.
No,
he's missed 3 field goals in 3 years,
and they're 50+ yardage.
A couple were blocked. Yeah.
Exactly, and going to the other things outside the Steelers, the Browns. I'm very excited that Baker Mayfield's in that lineup. I know he wasn't as great as he should have been, the first week, but there's a win yesterday that I feel like they should have won that game. Okay, the refs took it away, which leads them to my second thing. I think the NFL refereeing has to get its act together. It's not consistent at all. I don't know what a hit is anymore. I don't know what hitting the quarterback is. I don't know the difference between a flag is anymore. I don't know the differences between a first down or a fourth down anymore. Like, even if you got a first down, it's challenge, and then there's a holding on the play, then there's a roughing the passer, then there's 10 different penalties going on in one different play. So maybe being a little sarcastic and dramatic with that, but at the end of the day, the referees are not consistent with their calls, and I'm not a fan of it at all. I think the refs have to smarten up with that. So that's one thing I'd say with the NFL in terms of kind of on the field, but a little bit off the field. The parity that you touched on, and I think not even just that, just the surprise. And I will say, you can listen to the first broadcast before the season started. I was one that said that this season's going to be full of NFL surprises this year. So I'm proud to say that I was right in that. Too bad I'm on the wrong end of that, being a Steeler fan. But look at the Bears. When they got Mac, big deal. That is a big turning point leader in that locker room. And, who would have thought New England would be where they're at? But again, I love seeing it. I'm not going to lie. I love seeing New England not in first place. But Kansas City, who would have pictured Patrick Mahomes being the next, I don't know what I want to give him. Aaron Rodgers. I don't know what kind of tag I want to give him right now.
3 games. It's looking
I
good.
don't even care if it's 3 or 2 games. And the guy may as well give him Rookie of the Year right now. I'm not even going to pump the brakes on that. The kid's a stud, and it's just full of surprises all around right now with the National Football League, and that's what makes this exciting. That's what makes it awesome. Is that it surprises with Miami, with Tennessee, and with Chicago, with Cleveland. Yeah, Cleveland's not 4-0; they're 1-2-1. But at the end of the day, there's a team that's been in football games, and they haven't been blown out of football games. They've been doing great. They should be 4-0, as you said. So just exciting all around. But the big concern for me is not just the Pittsburgh Steelers record, not just not just Houston being 0-4.
1-3.
1-3. Sorry, 1-3. They did win overtime. That's right. So 1-3. Not a matter of the Bears getting in a win, or even Brady beating the Dolphins finally in the regular season yesterday, as this poster starts to dwindle down here in front of us in the BS corner at the Wicked Sister, which isn't a fact. The big concern for me is the reffing, and it seems like everything's going to be a flag, so I'm a big concern with that.
E.J. Russell, your thoughts on the NFL Week 4 at the quarter season mark?
Well, I think right now at this point in the year, what's important in the NFL is to make sure that you're taking care of games at home. And the reason I'm choosing to bring that up is, Dave, your Pittsburgh Steelers, they are not taking care of games at home. They are 0-2 at home. Every other team in the division has not lost a game in their home stadium. Now, the Browns did tie, but no team in the division other than the Steelers have lost all their games at home. Okay, Steelers are the only team that have lost. So they got to take care of the football at home and really show up in front of their fans, which there's no excuse that the Pittsburgh Steelers aren't doing that. I think they find a way to get it together, and they'll be in the mix for the division at the end of the year. They'll find a way to take care of the ball at home. Cleveland Browns, yes, they are playing better. I don't want to touch on that game too much because my opinions are very strong as to the officiating in that game. But the Tennessee Titans did look good. And I think that if you were to tell me that, hey, Marcus Mariota and his team had a good year in the NFL, that would really surprise you if you heard that somewhere along the line historically in NFL history, looking at this as an aftermath. If you had 2 years where Marcus Mariota and the Titans were good, you wouldn't be surprised by that. So good to see that they're doing well. I don't think that they're fake. If they can get more production from their running backs, I think they're good for the rest of the year. But I really think right now, to me, the best team in the NFL, watching them, the best 2 teams, I'll say, regardless of division and conference, are the Los Angeles Rams and the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Chiefs, with Patrick Mahomes playing the way he's been playing, they look unbeatable. And their defense isn't too shabby either. And the LA Rams, Todd Gurley's legit. Goff coming out having another year. I told you guys last time I hadn't watched the Rams too much, but watching Todd Gurley play really has been quite the treat, and he's a good player. So continue to watch him run the ball with power and speed, one of the best mixtures I've ever seen. But go Browns, Rams and Chargers, best two teams right now.
Butch, your thoughts on the NFL Week 4 at the quarter mark of the season, I should say.
Well, I made a statement last week about ties and whatnot there, and I was very strong about the NFL with their particular concept on ties and whatnot leading the game. And we saw two games this week. One coach is thrown under the bus, and another coach is a hero. So I think that concept of no ties really matches up with what I had to say last week. This is a league that really doesn't deserve ties anymore. They have to find some ways of making sure that these games are whole. Now, speaking of games are whole, I was stuck on the Cleveland-Oakland game there. That was a joke, okay? In the grasp is one thing, but cheating is another. That call was unwarranted. It stinks. You took away a victory that a team should have had, a touchdown that was made, and turned it into a force. You got to give Oakland the credit, though. They did come back after being behind and taking the lead and winning the game on the last second, which, by the way, we had 4 games in the NFL this week that came down to the very last play in the game. Give the credit to those teams who wanted to go all out for the win, and again, not for the tie. But you look at teams like Atlanta, who, surprised me. Pittsburgh surprised me, but I gotta stand up for the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, taking all the blame and not putting any of it on the particular players there, because they did play their rear end off last night there. But again, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think administration needs to come to terms on what they have to do in order to make that team whole again. And they have made some mistakes that basically right now might cost them a season. And again, the legality of that particular is are they going to throw their coach out in the street? Which I don't think he deserves to be there. Okay, so a lot of excitement in the air with the NFL this 4th particular week, and the parity is just uncountable there. The one thing that I'm looking at that really surprised me and I'm very happy about is the amount of the young kids who are coming in the league making a difference in this particular NFL there. They're giving more to the particular game than I have seen in a long time when it comes down to young kids just coming in their first and second year. You can talk about Barkley for the Giants, Mayfield for the Browns. The list goes on Mahomes in his second year, how he's making a huge, huge difference. The list goes on and on. Mariota is just fantastic. He's a talented guy. He's an athletic guy, but the leadership that he commands is just untaunted there. So that's the more important part I see in the NFL this year. Again, the NFL has a lot to do because I'm going to speak with Dave on that particular there. And yes, the referee in the NFL smells, okay? And they have to get that together. There's no reason games should be counted out because of bad plays there. And we saw a lot of them this week, and we've seen a lot of them the first 4 weeks. And it just, that has to have some accountability involved with the NFL going into the room and saying, hey, look, we got to be consistent in what we're calling, who's getting hit, who's getting this, who's getting that. That has to change there, because I think many of our fans out here are mixed up on what is what, okay? When people look at this particular sports now, and there's a lot of them, they look at sports gambling, okay? And regardless of what people want to think about the particular leagues in general there are a lot of people out here who feel that sports gambling has a lot to do with outcomes of games there. And hopefully that is not the case. But again, the NFL can fix that by having some accountability with their officiating staff in making the right calls, or those particular judgment calls that they do make, stand up and have some accountability with them there.
Great stuff, guys. I'll just add a couple things. I agree totally with Dave and Butch and EJ as far as the officiating. Not consistent. There's just been some strange calls, and you could go to several games where that has happened, and the NFL needs to start figuring out how to be consistent when it comes to some of these calls. And I like what Butch said about the young guys that are getting a lot of playing time. Mayfield, the quarterback in Cleveland, Josh Allen, who struggled yesterday but had a big game in Minnesota at Buffalo, Sam Darnold, who had that big game against the Lions for the Jets. You had Josh Rosen, who didn't do that bad yesterday, even though the Cardinals lost. Butch mentioned Saquon Barkley. How about this guy from Atlanta, Dave, Calvin Ridgely? 6 touchdowns already. Roll Tide, the University of Alabama product, is on pace for something very special. He's on pace for 24 touchdown receptions, which would set an NFL record. Obviously, I don't know if that's going to happen. Randy Moss had 23, but Calvin Ridgely on a team with Julio Jones and Mr. Gabriel. He was a late fantasy football lineup pickup by me last week, and he is proving dividends. Looking at some of the teams, just a couple teams maybe that haven't been mentioned so far, as far as teams that maybe are overachieving. Cincinnati at 3-1. I thought Cincinnati was going to have a tough season this year. They do have some defensive issues, but them and Baltimore at 3-1, I don't think many people had either one of those teams as even contenders in the AFC North. Tennessee, you guys mentioned at 3-1, big win at home over Philadelphia, and then the NFC, Chicago. Boy, what an addition Mac was on the defense. But Dave, you nailed it when it said that just kind of turned around that whole team. Mitchell Trubisky, a guy that maybe a lot of people thought was drafted a little high. He didn't exactly do things very well last year on the offense, but the having Cohen at running back totally changes that offense. Jordan Howard had all the yards and the carries and the touchdowns last year. He's pretty much non-existent this year. Cohen is huge in that lineup, and the AFC North is pretty much upside down as far as, well, the Lions are in last place, which I think many of us thought, but Minnesota 1-2-1, Chicago 3-1, and you look at the Lions, a team that we follow closely here. They're 1-3. They got to play Green Bay Sunday. Still got to play the Bears twice. They got to play Minnesota twice. It's going to be pretty tough for the Lions to make the playoffs, obviously, but NFL, hey, always fun and unpredictable, and that's the one thing about the NFL compared to other leagues, where you kind of know many times who's going to win. Not always, but the NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball, you have some idea. You don't have a whole lot of surprises is what I'm saying. But, hey, Milwaukee, a surprise winner in the NL Central today, beating the Cubs, and the Dodgers just knocked off the Colorado Rockies. So the Rockies and Cubs will play the wild card game in the NL, and the Yankees and Oakland will play the wild card game in the American League. Dave, we have time for one more topic before we get to our thumbs up and thumbs down for the week. So, Dave, I'll give you the topic. EJ, first crack. Butch, then me. What's your topic tonight, sir?
Very simple. Hockey season's 2 days away. Leafs playing the Habs. Hockey season around the corner. Get reaction for the upcoming season. Who's excited? Who's not excited? Who gives less of a damn?
Nope.
I think those words from Butch. I heard Butch say those words one time. Less of a damn.
You should hear some of the words I've heard Butch say.
We
can't say them on here.
Hey, Butch, less of a damn right now.
No.
But no, jokes aside, just the upcoming season. Just get some talk about the season coming around the corner.
EJ Russell, it's hockey time. We're dropping the puck in the NHL this week. What's your thoughts heading in?
So, I'm excited, really, to watch the Toronto Maple Leafs. And Dave's probably getting excited as I say that. But the addition of Jonathan Tavares to that lineup, he had a nice goal the other night. I saw that at home. It looked good. And I think that that's going to be a nice fit, and that's going to help Toronto get to where they need to be quickly. Adding a veteran player like that with the talent that they already had in that lineup. I think Dave knows that they have to work on the defense there. If they improve at all on that side of the puck, Toronto is going to be a major player this year. The Columbus Blue Jackets have had some success last year. I want to see where they're at. And then the team I think everybody's going to be watching this year is the Vegas Golden Knights. They came out of nowhere last year, made a run at it. Let's see what they do in their second season. Marc-Andre Fleury in net for them, former Pittsburgh Penguin, Stanley Cup champion guy that's been there. Let's see if he can bring that team more success. But my team that I'm watching this year is going to be the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Butch, let's get to your thoughts. You and I talked about the Red Wings in hour one. Your thoughts on the NHL. You're going to be up front and center at Little Caesars Arena on Thursday. What's your thoughts heading into this season?
The team that I'm looking at to really show some wear and tear there is the San Jose Sharks. I like Carlson. I really love Carlson. I think that deal is going to cement a whole heck of a lot of stuff. In the meanwhile, Toronto will be the team to beat in the East. I'm just so sorry, but Toronto has all the pickings. I watched them on Friday night. They got some guns out there, and those guns come to blazing throughout the season there. Toronto fans are going to have some excitement, second to none. I'm looking at the rest of the league there. I say the Islanders is going to be a better team than people expected there, and I think that those people on the Long Island side of New York is going to be excited for that there. The Florida teams, Steve Yzerman leaving Tampa Bay, that's is something that I'll be looking out for there. But again, a team like Florida, who has Luongo down there basically holding the fort, and some good young players with Florida, it's just something that, again, intrigues me as well. We can't forget about Winnipeg, okay? And I think they will greatly improve from what they did last year. The Knights are going to be a question mark to me as far as they repeating what they did. They caught everyone in the NFL, or the NHL, I should say, off guard. But again, they were fantastic. To do what they did in the first year, you can't take that away from an organization. From the beginning to end, from the entertainment factor all the way to the players, they had a lot of heart. And hopefully I will wish them well and maybe getting out there and coming close to what they did in their first year of existence there. We haven't talked about the Kings, or we haven't talked about the Ducks. Those are teams that really is going to be intriguing as well. But also teams like Phoenix, who right on is on their last end of showing the fans or the general public that either they get it together, or I see them pretty soon going to Quebec, okay? So a lot of things to look at for the NHL this season. I'm ready for this show to go on Wednesday night and throughout the season. So let's be intrigued here of what we're going to do, because I think we're going to have a lot of talk about throughout the season with hockey in general.
Yeah, I agree, Butch and EJ. Piggybacking on some of the things you both have said, I agree with you, Butch. San Jose and Carlson addition with Joe Thornton. Boy, that's a good team out there, San Jose. They might be my favorites in the West right now. I think San Jose is going to be a very tough out. Other teams in the West I'm watching for, one in particular, Colorado. Team that made the playoffs last year, kind of quietly, not really jumping off the page. I'm very interested to see what happens with Colorado this year. Obviously, Winnipeg is going to be up there at Vegas as well. And you still have, the Chicagos, the St. Louis's. But San Jose and Colorado are the two I'm really watching. In the West, I agree with EJ. I agree with Dave. Toronto, with Butch. And I'm sure I'll agree with you. Toronto, is it time? Is it their year? I mean, they are locked and loaded right now for maybe a run. Washington's still the Cup champ. You got to knock off the champs to be the champ. Columbus is another team I'm watching. They had Washington down 0-2 last year. Really seeing what happens with that team. I agree with Butch. The Islanders, I think, will be in there. Right now, my very, 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 very early Stanley Cup pick preseason or about to enter the season. How about Toronto? How about San Jose? Let's go. Dave, I know you got a lot to say about this. I'll give you the floor because I have to use the restroom, so the floor is yours.
The floor is mine with it. Nice. Okay, so I will say right off the hop that, the Toronto Maple Leafs, Butch, I know you said the team to watch, and EJ, the team that you guys are watching, and trust me, that doesn't make me more happier than like a pig in crap, I like to say. But I really still think Toronto is going to finish behind the Tampa Bay Lightning this year. I really think that the Tampa Bay Lightning, even despite Eisman stepping down, staying in the team as an advisory role for a year, pretty inevitable that he's going to be a Detroit Red Wing management leader within the next year, if not earlier. So I really think that the Toronto Maple Leafs will finish second in their division. And points-wise, they could finish second in their conference if you want to go that route. But obviously the way the divisions fall and all that fun stuff, Toronto will probably have a date with the Boston Bruins, again, in the first round of the playoffs. This time the roles being reversed, where Toronto's second, Boston's third. Boston will be a very tough team still to play. They got some good young guys coming up the ranks there in Boston. So that division in hockey is a division I'm definitely watching, but those are the only three teams that arguably you could say are going to be competitive in the National Hockey League this year, because you got Detroit, you got Ottawa, and you got Montreal. And Florida on the other side. You can't underestimate Florida, though. They got some good guys. They'll probably be in that wild card kind of team this year. But the other three teams that I mentioned there, two of them being Canadian, they're going to have a lot of struggles this year. Detroit won't be as big as a struggle, I think, in that division. But Detroit is on the rebuilding side of things. They're not expected to come out and absolutely thrill. So I will say again that Toronto, I think, will finish behind the Tampa Bay Lightning. I still think they're a superior team right now. But definitely this team that they're going to play in the second round, because the way it falls, will be the Tampa Bay Lightning. So it'll be a great second round, as I think Toronto will beat Boston finally this year in the first round of the playoffs. But moving on to the other kind of teams, Columbus, I couldn't agree with Scott more. I like what they have, despite their trade rumors that are going on with Panarin and some guys going that might be moving on. They're still a very competitive team. You got Pittsburgh and Washington, who obviously being the top guys in the Metropolitan. I know Scott loves that division name, the Metropolitan.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
The Western Conference, so like everyone's been saying on this table, Vegas is my question mark. Let's see how they rebound from their great from the great first season last year. And my boy Colin Miller out there, hopefully he can duplicate his success as being the leading scorer on Vegas. I think that the Vegas is still going to do good this year. I don't think they'll do as good, but they're still going to be a playoff team. The San Jose Sharks, let's get real. We've all just said it. We know where they're ending up there. I think they're going to be a team that finishes in the top two there to almost make the Stanley Cup Finals as well. And Winnipeg Jets, got my eyes on them. Paul Stastny moving on. They made some trades before to try to re-sign Paul Stastny. Didn't happen. Joel Armia, they moved Mason, they moved out some salary, tried to re-sign him, but ultimately Stastny goes to Vegas. So I really still think, though, Winnipeg is still a very good hockey team and very exciting. My boy and friend Paul Maurice, friend of the show as well. He's definitely going to be coaching a very good team. But the team that I'm actually going to say, a lot of people didn't may have forgotten, St. Louis did not make the playoffs last year.
That's right.
Okay, so St. Louis was behind Colorado in the last game of the year, and I couldn't agree more with Colorado. Something fascinates me with the Colorado Avalanche and even the New Jersey Devils as well.
Yeah.
Okay, you got Taylor Hall. Exactly. I do not like New Jersey because the way they used to play hockey, but they got some good guys.
Neutral zone trap, not a fan.
Oh, not a fan of that. As a coach, I am, but as a fan watching the game, no.
Tough to watch for years.
Very, but they won the cup. They did it. That's all that matters, right? Coming out on top
against the Wings.
But the most moves this offseason were made by the St. Louis Blues. Bozak. They bring in guys, and there's more that they obviously. Ryan O'Reilly, there's guys that they brought in. Philadelphia Flyers brought in James Van Riemsdyk. $7 million for JVR. A lot of money, but they got a lot of young guns. Godespierre, Provenov, Giroux, Voracek. They still got Couturier. They got Simmons. Oh, that team is gross. I'm going to say it right now. I guarantee. I think I'm going to say Philadelphia finishes top 3 in their division this year.
How about that new mascot?
I like that new mascot. I think Columbus will be a wild card team, Scotty, much to which you may not agree to, along with the Florida Panthers. Those are going to be your 2 wild card teams. The West, San Jose, Carlson. Oh, does not look sexy if you're a San Jose fan.
Him Thornton, that's fantastic.
That is
that's
great.
A great
it's going to be Winnipeg, San Jose, final 2. It's going to be Toronto. I said they were going to beat Tampa. I can't believe I just said it.
You did.
I did just
Twice.
say it. I got to watch my mouth, I guess. I did say they finished behind Tampa, but in the playoffs, Toronto will make it. And the team that they will be playing, I'm going to be bold. I think they're going to be playing very bold here. Washington Capitals.
Okay.
The repeat champions, getting to that Final Four again. But I'm not going to say who the Stanley Cup final is because I'm not going to go against anything that are my beliefs.
There you go. Guys, we're going to go overtime here. We didn't talk about this, and I know many of us watch this, if not all of us. Ryder Cup happening this weekend in France, and what maybe many hoped, at least the United States fans hoped, that it would be somewhat of a competition. Well, it really wasn't much of one, as Europe defeated the United States 17.5 to 10.5 to take back the Ryder Cup. The U.S. still winless on European soil over the past 25 years. I want your thoughts as far as what you saw in the Ryder Cup. You got to give a big thumbs up to Molinari, the Italian, going 5-0. I believe he was the first person ever to do that. And the wild card picks, or the captain's picks for the U.S., Tiger Woods. We gave him a lot of accolades last weekend. Not a whole lot this weekend. Phil Mickelson. The U.S. definitely underperformed. EJ, will go to you, then Butch, then Dave. Ryder Cup, I feel that was a big disappointment for the U.S., but you got to give up to Europe. They played some great golf over in France.
Well, I think that Phil Mickelson was probably the part for me that was most disappointing. Tiger and Phil we wanted them in this. We picked them for this because they were looking like the better versions of themselves of old. And they didn't show up. They weren't there, and that was a big momentum killer for the U.S. team. If you're playing golf in a team format like the Ryder Cup is, and Tiger Woods is burying putts, I mean, you're dangerous, and you get fired up watching him play, and then you start hitting shots. And the Ryder Cup is one of those moments where people play well together, and the momentum coming into that tournament was supposed to be Tiger playing well, Phil coming into this, and they didn't show up, and I think that hurt the United States. Molinari, great play this weekend. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. But again, U.S., like you said, Scott, hasn't taken a tournament on European soil in a Ryder Cup. That's something that they're going to have to get over eventually, but still a great tournament, and glad we got to watch it.
Butch, I know you talked about that on your podcast, Butch on Sports. Ryder Cup, did you have a chance to watch it? What were your thoughts?
I got up faithfully at 2 o'clock in the morning before it even got started there.
Me too.
Each and every day. I'm just so sorry, but I did. And all the way through then, I took a break for church. And when I came back from church, the United States lost.
Did you pray more, Butch?
Right, well, praying wouldn't do a doggone thing with the arrangements. I tell you. But you know what? Here's the thing here. Although the United States did very poor in this competition there, and I thought they would do a heck of a lot better, the United States committee, who not so much picked the teams, I think they need to get, for one, I was not very favorable with Jim Furyk. I thought someone like a Mickelson or a Tiger Woods should have been a captain, okay? And this is why I say it. We got a contingent of young kids coming up in this country who are doing pretty doggone well, and throughout the season of golf has done very well in showing the American public that they're great. I think also the committee and also the United States need to look at the schedule. The FedEx Cup ran for I don't know how many weeks, and for it to come butt in for the Ryder Cup, which, again, a lot of stock was put in it. You had the competitive man like Rose who came over there, and again, he won, and that was okay with me. But again, Europe had a lot of help, okay? A lot of their golfers stayed in Europe, okay? They were not participants in the FedEx Cup. And when you lay down the line there, when you got to sit up there and, for instance, Tiger Woods, for instance, winning the tournament, but again, putting a lot of stock in it. This is a guy who has fought all year on to be healthy here. And to take a week and maybe get on a plane and do all he's doing, and then again, he's showing he not won one doggone match, okay? That was, to me, very typical of what he went through. Although he went in there and they say he had a cold or he was under the weather per se, but that's a lot to put on someone's plate when you have a major tournament going on, to go to another major tournament over in another country and expecting your team should do very well. And I think the United States need to look at that. This schedule was out long time ago for the FedEx Cup to butt in with the Riders Cup when you at least should have had a week off, okay? A week off for these golfers to kind of get themselves together, unwind, or whatever they have to do before they travel over to Europe, which is well known about 2 or 3 years ago. That's a mistake that the United States need to fix, and fix in a hurry if they're going to be competitive overseas in this particular ever again here, okay? Maybe in the United States they would have did a lot better because they're at home and they can rest in their own bed. But when you got to get off and go into another country and you and I, Scott, has taken that long plane ride to Europe and whatnot.
Right.
It is not a picnic, okay, to change time, to change your way of doing business, to get a lack of rest. You get a lack of rest. You don't gain rest. You get a lack of rest going to Europe. That's not good. And the United States and the committees need to kind of fix that a little bit, where their team would be a little bit more competitive over there.
Dave, maybe they need some Canadians on the U.S. side, like great Canadian golfers like Mike Weir and Mike Weir. Your thoughts on the Davis
Mike Weir,
Davis Cup? Your thoughts on the Ryder Cup?
You can't get Brooke Henderson in female golf over on that side. She would have probably
done better than half the guys I saw play.
Absolutely.
She might make a putt.
Good
Lord, make a putt, people.
I didn't even think that Europe would contend with the United States based on what I saw, but I couldn't agree more with who the captain was. I feel like Mickelson or Woods even should have been the captain. It's also an entertainment factor and a talent factor, but the guys that they had, you have, guys like Bubba Watson, who's my boy, Bubba Watson. You got
lefty.
Phil Mickelson. Yeah,
another lefty.
I'm a lefty too, so I guess that's why. I have the same swing, I like to say. No, I don't. They have some good talent on that state side, and obviously having McIlroy, and you have some guys there, but on the Europe side that are very talented. But Brooks Koepka, was rated the best golfer in the world right now. I believe he's still ranked number one. If I'm right,
one of the top ones.
I think he still is. But I know Dustin Johnson.
Johnson.
Sorry, yeah. So, but still, I really think the USA should have won this based on talent alone. But that's me looking from the outside on paper and statistics. I think that USA didn't play to their best stuff, and making a putt was definitely the best way to put it. And Europe capitalized, got the win. At the end of the day, U.S. didn't, Europe did.
Yeah,
that's all I got to say.
And I'm like Butch. Actually, one night I was still out when the Ryder Cup was starting, so that tells you the kind of weekend I had. As a matter of fact, you're out late when that happens. But it's great watching. The U.S. did not do very well, but, hey, congratulations to Europe. You got to give up to those guys. Tommy Fleetwood, I like that guy from England, got the hair going on. And Sergio Garcia, the all-time winning Ryder Cup player, has the most wins.
I pronounce his last name wrong. It starts with the P. Poptanoff.
Sure, that guy.
That guy. I got to pull up the results right now, but I think
Ian Poulter?
Poulter,
yeah,
thank
Poulter
you.
Did,
Yeah, Poltanoff. What am I thinking about Poulter?
You're thinking of Russian hockey player.
Yeah, thinking of Ivan Provanov. That's what I was thinking of. But no, that's one guy that I just kind of, something about his swing and kind of his presence on the course. It's just not a potential of that guy.
Let's get to our thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, gentlemen. I'll start, then I'll go to EJ, and then Butch. Well, it's been a tough week here in Sault Ste. Marie. We talked about it in hour one with Soo High head football coach Scott Menard, as it was around this time last week where we were getting word that one of the Soo High players, senior at Soo High School, took his own life. And, we talked about this a few weeks ago as far as mental health awareness, suicide prevention. And it goes along the whole lines of we need to start listening to each other. We need to start loving each other. We we need to start not just being so nasty to each other. And almost everywhere you look in the world right now, if you turn on the news, if you go on social media, you just see a lot of nastiness and negativity. And when you have something like this, a young man who was 17 years old who made the tragic decision to take his own life, it really numbs you. It really puts things in perspective. And it's time for people to start being nice to each other, start listening to each other. I know it sounds cliched, but it needs to be said, especially in the week that we've had here in Sault Ste. Marie, where you have students going to high school finding out that one of their classmates decided to take their own lives, and teachers and coaches and counselors that have to try to pick up the pieces. I was thinking about that coming into this show. Growing up, I have a son who turns 12 on Sunday, another son who's 10. Both are in middle school, and I was reminiscing to my memories as a youth, and I had it made compared to what a lot of youth are going through right now, as far as just a lot of negativity around. And I'm not saying that there wasn't negativity around when I was growing up. I'm 44 years old, so I was in the mid 80s when I was in middle school, and my kids are in middle school now. And you just look at all the things you see on the news, things you see online, social media. There's so much negativity out there. Everybody needs to take a step back and start realizing the big picture, as far as we need to start being nicer to each other. I think it's as simple as that. And if there's anybody out there listening right now that is having some issues and needs someone to talk to, you need to call this number, 1-800-273-8255. Again, 1-800-273-8255. You are not alone. There's somebody that is going to help you. Lean on your friends, lean on your family. You never have to go through something alone. It's just been an awful week here in the area, and it's maybe time for everybody to start being nice to each other. Thumbs up to the coaches, as we mentioned, Scott Menard, the football coaches, the teachers, the counselors in the community here in Sault Ste. Marie. I can't even begin to imagine what went through as far as emotions and how the family is feeling, the Sinet family losing one of their own, and the students and everything. So thumbs up to everybody that made it as not pleasant, but that helped the young men and women that just, I'm struggling for my words here, Dave, but it's a tough time to hear things like this, and it's just time that we start being nicer to each other. Some thumbs up to Scott Menard, head coach of the Soo High Blue Devil football team, for coming in tonight. EJ Russell, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, sir.
Well, thoughts and prayers with the family, obviously. Very sad news to hear that. But thumbs up for the week. I'm going to give to golf. And I think the Ryder Cup really captivated a lot of people this weekend. And unfortunately, the United States lost. But it brought us together. We watched golf as one. And I always like seeing the United States fly their colors. Thumbs down this week, NFL officiating. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Butch Davis, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, my friend.
I'm sorry, we're going to have to piggyback off everything you're doing tonight, Scott, here. Number one, let's the thumbs down for the Ryder Cup here. That stake, the high heaven, United States, get yourself together administrative-wise so you can give the players that you do pick an opportunity to be competitive. On the upside there, Scott Nason, you will get my thumbs up for this week on the mental health. I say a month ago, it's almost a month now, that we talk about how we be nice to each other, that I got some sad news and it only happened in maybe less than a minute here or a second, that I was let go from the Telegram News, not giving me any reason at all, being there 19 years. It's a surreal effect that you have to find out why would people do things that you have to do. And I have, and you're in good standings, and you don't understand why people do some of the things you do. But one of the things you touched on, Scott, is being nice to each other. Seems like it's a to just be not mean and ornery and no good as you possibly can be in order to be on top. And if that's what it takes to be on top, I don't want to be there. Okay, mental health, and I have the position myself as I deal with special education children at Lincoln Park Elementary School here in the southeast of Michigan here. And that's an everyday job for me that I've been blessed to have there. And some of the staff and the members that we come together and deal with these children every single day, who is not like us when we were coming up there, where we can kind of depend on friends and true friends to be specific there. Right now, it's a mad world for some of these kids. You don't know what kind of environment they're coming through or what it may be. And whenever they get someone to talk to and we spend the time with them, that is godsend for what accomplishment being made. I say we got to listen to each other more. We got to be nicer to each other, but again, be a lot more respectful. This world is turned upside down in how we call success as being a medium. And we got to look at mental health as a number one mission to make everyone know. And Scott, if you can, repeat that number to everyone again so we'll know that there is help available for anyone or anybody who needs help or just someone to talk to in order to get their foot in the door to keep life as grand as it should be for you.
Thank you, Butch. Again, that number is 1-800-273-8255 or 1-800-273-TALK. And Butch and EJ, Dave, and myself, we're a team. We're not letting anybody go here. We've created this over the past few years. Dave and you started this. We added Butch early on. We've added EJ over the past couple years. So this is something we continue to grow in. It takes the four horsemen here, along with Katie and everybody else that helps out with the show. We are here to stay, and we're going to be here for a long time. Dave, your thumbs up and thumbs down for the week, sir.
Wow, that's three
powerful stuff tonight.
Geez, I'd say that was definitely news. So I gotta say condolences to the family of I'm sorry,
Colson.
Colson. Yeah. Thank you. Wanted to pronounce it correctly because I do have a habit of saying names incorrect sometimes. But mental health, you said, Scott, it was one thing that I continue to kind of go through. But it's something that I've experienced, and it's having the people in your corner and always reaching out for help, simply to say, and knowing that you have people in your corner, family, friends. But you know what? If you do what you love and you focus on what you want to do best and make yourself happy, you can defeat anything, because no one is stronger than the human mind.
Bingo.
So,
well said, sir.
So I will leave it with that kind of side. I want to say another condolences to Jim Cappy.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go there with with this fully, but he lost his wife to cancer after a long battle with cancer. A coach of mine that was for many years, great guy, friend of the show, been on the show numerous times.
Yeah.
So condolences out to Cappy and the family there for that loss. Thumbs up and thumbs down getting to that. Thumbs up to hockey season coming in the next 2 days. Absolutely. Thumbs up again to yourself, Scotty, the Soo Blue Devils, Butch, and everyone here who's a part of the show, even on the Canadian side, how great this growth has been, but most importantly to today with yourself, talking about that mental health, but also the Soo Blue Devils football. That is absolutely touching and amazing in itself. And I must go to thumbs down to the Pittsburgh Steelers, rightfully so, based on how that team has been performing and the absolute drowning I see with Antonio Brown losing himself in that team right now. I kind of feel like that they need to start turning around and get back in that win column if they want to salvage this season.
Let's go around the horn, gentlemen, before we end the show. EJ, your Browns will take on Baltimore at home on Sunday, a battle of the team that left Cleveland.
Please.
What's ahead for your week, sir, and before you join us next Monday on the game?
Hello?
We'll go to Butch. EJ, we'll see if he's still here. Butch, I know lots ahead for you this week. You're going to be checking out the Red Wings home opener against Columbus. Hopefully you'll be at the Lions game against the Green Bay Packers. Credentials were sent. We're waiting to hear back from the Detroit Lions. What's up in store for you this weekend for Butch on Sports?
Well, if the Detroit Lions come through, that will be great. They'll top off the Sunday here. But again, the Red Wings is the main ingredient. They're going to have the red carpet ceremony starting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, opening up the Little Caesars Arena, the red carpet stuff, the alumni, everybody else is going to be there. And I'm quite sure it's going to be a sold-out house at the arena there. They're one of the best arenas in the world, I understand here. But that's going to happen. I didn't talk too much about the Hall of Fame ceremony last Friday there. That was pretty doggone unique indeed. B.J. Armstrong, I had a great time with him and some others, and Robert Porcher there. And it was like a family reunion once again there. But we're going to deal with that. And also, let me speak to this before I get out of here. Gulf Eel High School, they're in the playoffs. Guess how many people they have on the team, boys and girls?
22.
22 players.
Yeah, I listened to your show, Butch.
Players. Oh, boy. Listen to thank you. 22 players, and they're in the playoffs there. Little Grosse Eel Island there. They have done this very well. Again, there was the game of the week here in Southeast Michigan there. And again, the information we got from them and from my buddies at WXYZ TV, where I internship at there a long time ago there, was outstanding. I thank them very much for helping me out and getting some information that I needed there in order to know about the team and talk to the coach and staff after on Monday, this afternoon, matter of fact, there. But again, it's going to be a huge week for me. Hopefully I have enough wind to kind of get ready for next Monday on the game show. I think we're going to have a lot to talk about.
We always do, Butch. I appreciate you joining us tonight. Again, you can find Butch on Sports on this podcast page, thegamesportshow.podbean.com, or go to Butch's podcast page, simply Butch2, that's TOO.podomatic.com. Butch, fun as always. We'll talk to you next Monday night here from the Wicked Sister.
I'll be waiting to deal with that.
They're looking forward to it. I think EJ might have left us. EJ, are you still there? He had to go sell cars. Dave McCaig, host of the Game Sports Show from Northern Superior Brewing Company in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, and Sports Center Bar and Grill, also in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Love hearing your shows. I had a chance to listen to both your full shows and all three of Butch's Butch on Sports podcasts this week.
Baby.
A lot of times I don't have a chance to listen to it all, but I had some times. I got to say, you guys do a great job. It's so nice what we have built here on this whole podcast page between Butch, our show, Dave, your shows, my shows with Paul Van Wagner and ESPN Blacksburg. Love the content. People are talking about it. People are listening to it. What's in store for you this week, my friend?
I can say jokes on the people for listening to us, maybe.
Nah,
no,
just
kidding.
jokes.
Just
It's good
kidding.
stuff.
Just
There's
kidding.
information
No,
out
it's
there.
absolutely
It's-
amazing. It's fantastic. And much thanks to the listeners with that for making us part of their day, night, morning, whatever part of the day they
Anytime
listen
you
to
want
us.
to listen to it.
Live here on Eagle 95.1 we're on, or on the podcast on the Podbean page of the website. But, you know, we always have an action-packed week. And, Scotty, I know you're not aware of this week, of the action-packed week, but tomorrow we'll have a special edition upload, which I'm going to rely on you for to hopefully
On
get
Tuesday.
up.
Okay.
Joe Bowen.
Oh, Joe's coming on.
Joe Bowen, me, myself, and Joe Bowen and Jamie Henderson.
Oh, wow.
And potentially Brad and Justin, if they can make it, and have an interview with Joe Bowen.
And for those that don't know, Joe Bowen, the play-by-play radio announcer for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
The Holy
Yep.
Mackinac. That's
Yeah,
all you
he's
got to look at.
fantastic,
Just the
yeah.
guy. He's been on the show numerous times, so he'll be on tomorrow in a special edition powered by Silver Creek and Northern Superior Brewery. Going to give that a little special upload. Then obviously Wednesday, it will be at Sports Center Bar and Grill. Myself, Jamie, Dustin, Justin, and Matt. The panel of five.
In the pocket,
in the
NBA
pocket,
talk.
NBA talk,
Yep.
variety of talk at Sports Center. Will be there at 9 o'clock.
Ryder Cup, maybe?
Maybe that'll get brought up. Might have to bring that up tomorrow if Hendo wants to bring it up at the beginning portion, because
Gotcha.
they're doing specialty with golf. But we'll get that going. Thursday, we'll obviously be at the brewery. This week, they'll be there at 6 o'clock. Couple reasons, catch the ace going on, plus my men's league Mayor's Cup game, the Game Sports Show Mayor's Open team.
Wow.
We have our own hockey team, peeps, with jerseys and everything. We start our games at 9 o'clock, or a game at 9 o'clock at the Mimique, and so myself, Justin will be on location, and we're also hoping to have a Thunderbird player. We're planning to have Blake Spears on this week as well on that show on a phone interview. So just stay on the ticker for the Tuesday, Wednesday show. Have more information as the days go on. Definitely with that. Everyone in Sault Ste. Marie, good luck on Catch the Ace this week. Massive $1.2 million jackpot. If you don't know what that is, Butch, I got to share this story with you quick. There's a Catch the Ace. I'm not sure if they do that in the United States or anywhere else, but I know they do it in Canada somewhere. But they have a deck of 52 cards, obviously, because that's what's in a deck of cards, and they have it on a wall. And since for the last 51 weeks, nobody has picked that ace.
Wow.
Nobody.
Whoa.
The odds of that happening are like win the lottery.
There's one
3
card
times.
left.
And now there's one card left. So lucky individual that gets their number drawn, hopefully Meeks, and spend almost a couple $100 in tickets, gets the $1.2 million.
That's Canadian, which is about, what, 300,000 American right now?
I'm going to ask if it comes in American when I go get the prize. But that's why we're starting at 6 o'clock till 8 at the brewery. The beer launch, everyone's been asking about the game ale. We're getting rid of the Ballon, so I think we're putting the game ale because we got a little treat for the people who like the taste of beer. We're still projecting for our launch to be in November, thanks to North Spear Brewery and Blake Winter for their hard work. Myself gets to go by there tomorrow night after the special edition in my class to get a taste of just kind of the beginning brew, but it's not the actual tasting.
Wow. We went way over time, 30 minutes into overtime. Butch, Dave, EJ, thanks for joining us on the game. Want to thank our special guest, head coach of the Soo High football team, Scott Menard, and head coach of the Laker women's basketball team, Brandon Lokken. That's going to do it here from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street. We'll be back with you next Monday for another edition of the game. Need your help here, Dave, here on Eagle 95.1.